A World Cup without the European nations is obviously not going to happen.
Well, 6 of the 8 quarter-finalists were European at this summer's tournament. Now, Forest boss Oliver Glasner has been speaking exclusively to talkSPORT from their camp in Portugal. Ahead of his first season in charge of the Reds, he's stressed the importance of consistency.
I honestly think that Forest has done a brilliant job in the last years, and that then now it's with consistency, with going step by step forward. We want to establish in the top half of the Premier League.
Elsewhere, 1,255 acts of discrimination were recorded across all levels of the English game last season. That's up from 960 in the previous campaign. The organisation's chief exec Samuel Okafor says racism is deeply ingrained in football, but is also a reflection of wider society right now. And in the Commonwealth Games, Aziz Abdul, the grandson of former Ugandan dictator Idi Amin, said he could become the new King of Scotland if he wins boxing gold in Glasgow. The 25-year-old super heavyweight faces England's Demar Thomas in Wednesday's quarter-finals, with victory guaranteeing at least a bronze medal, making him Uganda's first Commonwealth boxing medalist since 1990.
talkSPORT News.
The Prime Minister will promise to fund social care like the NHS, and temperatures are in their mid-30s again later in the south and the east. There's more from Cara at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. For a limited time only, get 10% off 2 or more selected premium tyres in our big summer sale. Visit quickfit.com and book today. Conditions apply.
It's cloudy across Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning with outbreaks of showery rain, although some brighter spells are also possible. Elsewhere, it's dry and sunny.
Morning, it is mid-mornings on talkSPORT. It is normally White and Jordan, but it isn't this morning. I'm Adam Catterall. Pleasure as always to be in your company, and I am in the company of Darragh McAnthony this morning, the Peterborough owner. And we've got lots to get through, including this story that you just heard in the news regarding Gianni Infantino planning to sell the World Cup. Is to sell? You're more than welcome to come and join us on that conversation. 03717 223344. We'll also be speaking about football chiefs in talks about a landmark deal between the EFL and the Premier League. Is Darragh happy with it? Listen, he's going to be getting stuck into that, no doubt about it. 03717 223344 if you want to get involved as well. We're also going to be talking about VAR. Because the plans for the new season, it's only going to be used for blatant errors. Wasn't that the plan all along? But again, your thoughts on that as we head on into the new season. The telephone number, once again, is 03717 223344. We'll have a section as well where you can ask the EFL chairman if you've got anything for Darragh this morning. You're more than welcome to come and join us on the show. It's mid-mornings on talkSPORT. Good morning, Mr. McAnthony. How are you?
I'm all right, my man. How are you?
Very well indeed, mate. Listen, I'll be honest. I know that we're going to get stuck into all this stuff with Johnny Infantino.
Johnny, as we call him in America.
Is it?
Johnny. Yeah.
I would actually just like to continue our conversation that we've just been having off air, where we could just do 3 hours on boxing, mate. Because you're a huge fan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
massive,
Travel around the world.
I'm jealous. You were in Saudi. You watched. I was just saying to you, I missed it out in Vegas, the big fights. But yeah, I enjoyed the AJ fight. It was
they're coming back. They're coming back. There's a few coming back into America soon. You're a Canelo fan, aren't you?
Yeah, massive Canelo fan. Yeah, I'm excited to see him again. So that'll be juicy in a few months' time.
Okay, we'll have a little bit of that a little bit later on in the show. So make sure you stick around for that. But right now, mate, let's talk about Mr. Infantino,
Johnny,
flogging the World Cup. For the people that haven't been across this, right? FIFA said it intends to expand football development funding, this is brilliant, to more than 10 billion by third-party investment in a new venture, right? The Times are claiming that plans could potentially earn FIFA President Gianni Infantino tens of millions of pounds. Firstly, for people that are tuning into this, what would be the purpose, from Gianni Infantino's point of view, to be looking for third-party investments?
Look, I'm one of those people. I'm not reactionary like a lot of the media are. We're jumping all over this the last 48 hours. And it's been kind of a theme all summer long, hasn't it, about FIFA and about Gianni and his relationship with Trump and all the missteps he took in the World Cup. So I guess he's a glutton for punishment with this leaking as well. I don't know enough about the deal to be able to look. If it's true what they're saying and we're selling off the World Cup or part of the World Cup, nobody in football wants that to happen, and it's horrific. Now, what we need to know is the devil's in the detail. Forget about Infantino and his millions, because that's just a shadow for a second. We don't know about that. What does it do for football? What does it do for football clubs? What does it do for youth football? What does it do for underdeveloped countries? What does it do for people who might need help? Is it going to bring all those positive things to football? And by the way, I'm not endorsing this as an idea, but before we completely go OTT over everything, where's the detail? And that's the big problem when stuff like this leaks. It's always the bits of it that leak that no one likes, but you don't know the full story and the full picture. So I'm one of those big picture people, full picture. Give me the full picture, the big picture.
What do you want that full picture to be? What do you want it to be?
Well, I don't know. I know our industry. I've always called it $1 trillion industry, but I also know too many football clubs struggle. I also know too many youth clubs struggle. I know that too many, facilities across the UK, as an example, pitches, all those things. There's not enough out there for people in maybe communities less fortunate than us to be able to, in America we have a big problem where you have to pay for your kids to play, football or soccer as they like to call it. So, again, is that money being spread around the leagues, or is it going to go to the players? Is it going to go to executives and players? If it's going to go to executives like Infantino and others and players, then of course we have no interest. If it's going to develop our game and bring more revenue in and help collectively clubs all over the world, including ours in the UK and in underdeveloped countries, well then obviously you look at any conversation.
Yeah, my initial thought is that, like you said, the devil is in the details.
It is, yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
But with everything that has gone on with the World Cup this summer, you automatically start
of course,
to think
you
about
suspect them
being a bit bent.
You suspect them, absolutely. And then you bring the name Trump into it and Trump's son-in-law.
Well, yeah, for people that don't know that either, right?
Yep.
So the Thrive Eternal is expected to lead the proposed investor group of FFE, which is, like you've just said there, Joshua Kushner, the brother of US President Donald Trump's son-in-law.
So everyone automatically, because of the articles all summer long and the relationship between him and Trump and Infantino, will go straight to it's a fiddle-diddle. That's what always the assumption will be, and it may well be. I don't know. But again, I don't know enough about it. But the idea of us selling the World Cup is putrid, and it's not something any of us want to engage in. But again, like I just said, it's not just in our country where our clubs lose 5-6 million on average every year. It's all over the world. There are countries out there who, we would like the game to be, spread more in, and they don't have facilities. Is this going to help? But the devil's in the detail. If we hear there's 20 billion coming in, and 18 billion of it is being spread to investors and to executives, and 2 billion is going across the game itself, no good. And I read something coming in about, well, the players are going to want to get paid a lot more. Because the players get whiff of this, and that's what usually happens when you get bigger TV deals. The money usually goes one way. It doesn't go into facilities. And we're going to talk about the EFL and Premier League deal later, where we talk about infrastructure over money going into players' wages. If that money is going to go to all the players, and I get it, they're the stars of the show, again, well, that's exhausting.
Let's hear from Martin Ziegler, right? Because he's the guy that brought this story. He was on Breakfast a little earlier on, and he was talking about whether Gianni Infantino will be successful with this or not.
The storm that it's provoked would make it, I think, quite hard, for Infantino to push this through. It's not just Europe. I think he'll have serious worries about this. I think the CONCACAF Federation of North America and Central America and the Caribbean are worried about it. Lots of other nations too. Interestingly, none of this has come from, this isn't Saudi Arabia or Qatar pushing this. So be interesting to see what their views are. Normally they've been very supportive of Infantino. Obviously Saudi Arabia have got the World Cup in 2034.
Martin brings up an interesting point there. Who's going to vote against this? Because there is a vote for this. You've got to vote to pass it to actually go to a vote.
And they say he's got all the votes, right? That's the problem.
So who's going to vote against it? There's 211 member nations, isn't there? And as he's looking to expand World Cups, people are maybe looking after their own interests on this particular situation.
So the one thing I know after the Super League, it doesn't matter if he has the votes. If we don't want this to happen, we collectively as an industry, whether it be people who work in football, journalists, sports journalists, politicians, whatever else, if we don't want this to happen, this won't happen. And under pressure now, the one thing about him is he's stubborn, so he'd probably ignore a lot of that. But I will say that there's enough furore going on at the moment that if the details aren't revealed properly, this won't happen. It just won't happen. Because obviously the threat of pulling out of World Cups, you've got FIFA, the power of FIFA. So if it is dirty, if it is something that's not for our game and is going to affect our game in a positive way, this won't happen.
Is he good for the game, Infantino?
Not the way he portrays himself, no. But again, he would argue, I guess, if he was sat here, that his record would show he's grown the game, he's grown the revenue. Every World Cup's been more successful than the previous one. And when you're a CEO or a chairman or you're in charge, you will always go off, whether you're liked or disliked or hated. Well, that's my record, and I stand by my record. And my record was to expand the game, bring more revenue in, bring football across billions more eyes and put it in countries that have never had it before. So he'd put his hand up and go, I've done all those things. Tick, tick, tick.
Well, situations like this, when you're running for office like he runs for, there's no competition for him at the moment. So therefore, things like this kind of...
He's got power.
Cement that, because the next time it comes up, nobody's going to run against him. He's going to keep the position for a longer period of time.
And I think that's a bigger problem down the line, that when you do replace him, you've got to look at the corridors of power and how things work and the amount of power that someone in that position has, whereby he gives enough countries money, awards a few World Cups, this, that, and the other. He gets votes no matter what, so he can do what he wants. We don't want a dictator running FIFA. And I guess the way people are thinking at the moment is we have a dictator running FIFA, and that's a concern. It's meant to be a democratic association.
Of course, yeah.
But people feel like it's not. And he's got too much power.
03717 223344. That's the telephone number. Get involved with this conversation this morning. There's a few texts coming in. It's a money grab influenced by America to get the World Cup there more often. More Americanisation of football will be the death of the game that we once knew. It stinks. This text is interesting. This will go away after Trump leaves office.
No, nonsense. No, absolute nonsense. I understand the implication of Trump and his family and all of that, and everyone wants to hate Donald Trump. And you don't have to be the biggest fan or the biggest hater of Donald Trump. Infantino is going to be still there long after Trump's left office. So I'm not sure it goes away. It goes away if we all collectively make it go away. And this isn't about America or the Americanization of football. I'm sick of hearing that. I spoke last week about I live in America, and don't tar us with that brush. I get it. There's lots of things people don't like, but, don't knock it until you've tried it, as regards being in the States.
03717 223344. Phone lines are open this morning. We're concentrating on this particular story regarding Gianni Infantino's plan to sell the World Cup. What's your initial reaction? What do you make of the noise over the last 24 hours that Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck are being heavily linked as to be players for Chelsea this season?
I can see the reason and why. I can see why, Alonso done it when he was at Leverkusen. He brought Xhaka in. He had a few, older heads to play with, a lot of the youngsters, what he had in and around the squad to help him, because that's what they do. The older players help the coach, the manager, because they can see it. They've been there, they've done it. And I can see why, Danny obviously had a great season last season, very unlucky not to get the call up to the England squad. Jordan, obviously, a freak accident at the World Cup. Yeah. And probably because I think, when you look at Jordan, everyone sort of forgets that he was Liverpool captain, won the title with Liverpool, played all them games for Liverpool, and you don't do that and play at a top level club like that if you're not a top level player. So again, you can see he's got he buys into an environment, he buys into what you want, and as a manager, you've got nothing but love for that, because you need your players to buy in, and if he's buying into it and they see it, young players go with them lads who've been there and done it, and when he's got the experience of getting over the line in them moments as well, there's nothing better when you're in them, and I think that's where Chelsea have got to, because they've been a bit up and down. They've got real good quality, genuine quality, but then you've been seeing them in games where they just haven't had the knack to sort of see a game out, or what do we do to try and get back into a game, and that's what them lads will bring.
get back into the football. Let's get an update from the Commonwealth Games, shall we? Lots going on today, including a little bit of boxing. I'm sure John's going to give us a little update on that. John Cushing, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Welcome to the Scotstoun Stadium this morning, the home of athletics, and it's just off Danes Drive in Glasgow. And guess who I've just seen running past? Yes, the world record holder, Josh Kerr, the mile world record holder. Josh Kerr doing a little warm-up on the Danes Drive outside the stadium, running up and down. The crowd, when he runs past you, suddenly go, oh, that was Josh Kerr, and everyone turned round as he carried on going down. He will be in action in about an hour's time. The mile is returning to the Commonwealth Games for the first time since 1966. It's round one in the men's. It's a stacked field. We've got Cam Myers, the big hope from Australia, against the world record holder Josh Kerr of Scotland. So we're looking forward to seeing them progress, hopefully, to the final on Saturday. Also here, we've got the heptathlon underway. Kate O'Connor and Jade O'Dowda, the leaders overnight. Northern Ireland's O'Connor telling me last night the weather conditions here at Scotstoun were ridiculous and the worst she'd ever seen. But she still leads. She's the world silver medalist and looking for gold here at these Commonwealth Games. You mentioned the boxing. We've got 18 home nation boxers in action right across the day from lunchtime, including Rosie Eccles of Wales, looking to do what nobody has ever done before, and that's retain the Commonwealth title in the light middleweight, in the women's light middleweight. That comes up at lunchtime. And there is swimming as well. In the next half an hour, I talk about the mile being stacked with some big names. The men's 200-metre freestyle is the one that Britain always win at the Olympics in the relay. You've got Tom Dean, Duncan Scott, you've got Sam Short from Australia as a challenger as well. Who is going to get to the final? We'll find out that in the next half an hour. There are tickets still available at glasgow2026.com, and the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games is live across the talkSPORT network.
Top man, John, thank you very much. You're listening to Mid-Mornings on talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall. Darragh McAnthony is alongside me. We're talking about this Gianni Infantino story. Raising more third-party investment. That's the right way of phrasing it, isn't it? That's what he's looking to be doing. There's loads of text coming in on this.
Yeah.
And Mike said here, playing devil's advocate, does it actually matter if multimillionaires get a few more multi-millions? If it's for the better of the game, more funding for lesser nations, more teams play in tournaments. You see, he's gone for devil in the detail there, is Mike. He's waiting for the actual facts.
We just spoke there between and just said, look, right now we've got Martin's story that's come out. And again, I get the outrage. I get it. And at the moment, it's all about the headlines. And you've said it 5 times on this as we're on air saying, oh, the World Cup's been getting sold. So we don't know any of that. And again, you know, you see over the last few years, what we have seen since COVID with Barcelona and other clubs selling a lot of rights to various stuff to raise money. Because one thing we can't get away from is the game's becoming very expensive, particularly for clubs, for people involved. The biggest clubs in the world need to raise money. Yeah. So I'm not saying FIFA need to, but again, what's the end goal? For me here, it's end goal. What is the end goal for Infantino? What's the end goal for FIFA doing this with the World Cup? I don't want to say the word selling the World Cup, but entering into any kind of investment discussions. What is the end goal? And if the end goal is something positive for all of football, and the devil is in the detail, and we see it, maybe hopefully this is just an overreaction. If it's the opposite, and it's a fiddle-diddle, and everyone's involved like we think's involved and whatever else, and football's not going to benefit as much, then the outrage is pure, and then we go and we pick it.
Yeah, but we
stop it.
Darragh, we love a conspiracy, man. That's what we're for.
Yes, since COVID, yeah, go online. So I saw it all break yesterday or overnight and this morning and whatever else, and I was just like, I'm not one of those people that reacts because I've seen it myself.
Give me the facts, is what you're at.
Yeah,
give me the facts.
I'm not reactionary. I always tell my kids the same thing. You know, is do your own research. You know, calm down, don't panic, and just read it in the detail. Because the detail is really important. Headlines for me just nowadays are just clickbait. And that's no disrespect to Martin. That's the industry you're in. And I guess this is a great story today. Last week we were moaning we didn't have enough to talk about. Now we're talking about the World Cup's getting sold. I wonder who's on 5% of that. Barry Fry will be on the phone any minute now.
Listen, we're going to continue this conversation. I can see people are wanting to get involved on the phone, so I'll come to you in a minute. But first of all, one of our reporters, Ben Jacobs, has also been explaining how Infantino may be applauded by some FIFA member nations.
If Gianni Infantino got a private stake or a big salary as commissioner, or if rubbing shoulders with all of these politicians and high-profile movers and shakers benefits him, of course there's potential alleged personal gain. But the point here is that Infantino's always going to be able to argue, which is why it's a vote winner, that everything he's doing is not lining his own pocket, it's going back into FIFA. And if you're telling all these federations you're going to get 20 million, which is triple what they're used to, just for joining in one-off capital and approving this plan, then Gianni Infantino will see that as a vote winner. So there is a fair chance that we'll get a vocal minority in UEFA opposing it, but many of the member associations in FIFA may applaud this because ultimately it's making them money.
Off the back of that, we've had a statement from the FA. We are completely unaware of this proposal and have no substantive details, including what the proposition actually is and what conditions are attached. Based on the limited information, we are deeply concerned about the lack of process and governance to get to this point and the apparent substance and principles involved. When the proposal is shared in full and in a transparent way, we promise that we will make our views clear and comment further. I think that's fair enough.
Devil in the detail, right? So,
Absolutely.
you know.
Gareth, welcome to the show, mate.
Good morning. Yeah, it's nice to speak about this issue because I think FIFA is completely out of control. I think your correspondent who's there is put it in his nail on the head, really. It's like the tail wagging the dog because he's obviously getting the number of small nations and bribing them for votes. I think
strong word, that man. Strong. You've gone in strong.
Bribe. but the thing is, though, you've said it. Your correspondent said it. Is promising them money, and obviously they're going to vote for it. Now, the thing is, the European nations should resign from FIFA. They should set up their own World Cup, how it used to be, just 32 nations. They should have a completely different model that's actually affordable for fans to attend. They could make it so tickets are cheap. They could make it so tickets are like £50 or something like that. It's ridiculous that the majority of English fans who wanted to go to the World Cup in America couldn't even entertain the possibility.
Where does that revolt come from, though? If people are getting weighed in cash-wise, does this have to come from players?
No, I mean, the thing is, you could make a model of a World Cup that is affordable for supporters.
Who's making it? Who's making that? Who's making the model?
Well, a new organisation which is democratic, which is organised by what I'd call the foundation clubs, the ones who actually, if you go back to World Cups back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, that's where it was. I mean, the last World Cup, I went to the French one, I went to the Italian one. You could buy a ticket. It was in one country. It lasted a month. And you could buy a ticket, even for the semi-final, it cost me about £75. The other tickets were £40. I know things have changed since 1990, but it's gone ridiculous. It's got to the point where they've lost the plot with it. It really just needs refreshing and reorganise it. And I think this is the time for UEFA clubs should just resign from it. And if those other clubs want to carry on with FIFA, let them do it, but it would be without the European teams.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I understand what you're saying and about the cost and everything else, but we've just come off the back of the most successful World Cup, revenue-wise, ratings-wise. That's why deals like this are flying around.
I was talking before about prize money. I think it's the record amount. I know there's more teams, so therefore this is kind of inflated because of the amount of teams, but it's a record amount of prize money that's actually been dished out right across the board.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a realist. It's great coming on and going, we should do this and we should pull out and we should set up whatever else. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, something like this is always going to come along. There's always going to be a power vacuum. There's always going to be a hunger and a thirst for more profit. Fans are going to come on the other side of that. It's going to get expensive. I'd love tickets to be, what did he say, 75 quid to cover 4 games from 30, 40 years ago. That's just not the world we live in now. And it's like that. It's not just football. It's everyday life and whatever. We've all been dealing with that inflation. So I just don't see it happening. So saying it and wanting it is just, it's a pipe dream.
Can you see a players revolt? For example, like if they're not getting weighed in?
No. Players revolt for what? Players want to represent their countries at World Cups. It's every 4 years. They play qualifiers. They play at the World Cup. What are they revolting over? Clubs might revolt. Federations might revolt. Europe, obviously UEFA might revolt. There might be all of that to go on. Federations might revolt. We don't know. But why are players going to revolt?
If people are making money off the back of their name. So, for example, if this amount of investment, let's say it's 10 billion. Right?
I said it earlier. They're going to want a cut of the pie.
Right. What if they don't get that cut of the pie?
They'll get a cut of the pie. The players always get a cut of the pie. So I guarantee you down the line, they will get a cut of the pie. Don't forget they're the talent. So, and I get Infantino as the bad guy and everyone wants to come at him. As someone said earlier about what he earns, the guy who runs the NFL gets paid $40 million a year, who runs the NFL. And he gets paid that because he brings in blockbuster $1 billion TV deals. That's why it's the biggest growing sport in the world, where he's bringing games to Mexico and Germany and London. 5 years ago, NFL fans would have been horrified at the idea of playing more games in London and going to Spain and going to all these countries, or even talking about Asia. but they got on with it because there's more money for all the different NFL teams. You've just been to all the new stadia in America. Guess where all the stadias come from? Those same deals he did over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Those clubs get a help of all the owners to be able to build those billion-dollar stadiums. It's why the NFL is like so successful. Again, I'm not endorsing anything Infantino's talking about or any of this because I don't know the details. All I'm saying is
But you understand the business of it. Yeah.
before we got our knickers in a knot, before we threaten to picket, before we threaten to protest and want to change and pull out, let's see the details, let's see the presentations, and let's see how this affects everybody.
Here's one for you. This is Rich in Whitby. I may be wrong, but FIFA is supposed to be a non-profit organisation that exists
Correct,
to
in
develop
Switzerland. Yep.
that exists to develop and govern football from grassroots right through to the professional game.
Yep.
If selling the World Cup, which is the headline, generates billions that are then reinvested back into football at every level, then that surely is a positive. What does concern me is the suggestion that individuals could be making money from it. If FIFA is truly a non-profit organisation, where is that money actually going? But it comes back to exactly what you said before.
FIFA's, obviously, it is a non-profit and it's based in Switzerland. I've read the rules a little bit on the train on the way in this morning to go through it all. They're not breaking any laws, by the way. As for people making money outside of FIFA, you're talking about Kushner and all the Trump stuff, whatever else, that's not illegal either because they don't run non-profits. They're all private business enterprises, just like the guys who want to invest into Liverpool. They're not doing it for the good of their heart. At the end of the day, they're capitalists. They want to make money. But they'll argue it's good for everybody. It's good for us. It's good for everyone. Infantino will say, well, I might get an extra $1 million in my salary every year. But hey, it's good for us. Look, I've expanded to these new countries. I've put billions into African football. I've done this. I've done that. He will have an argument, a counter-argument for everything when the time's right. Their biggest issue at FIFA right now is the leaks. Because this has obviously come out at a really bad time. And they've just come off a bit of a PR disaster with British media in particular over his relationship with Trump and all the things that went on in America. So the timing of this just is terrible.
Keep your calls coming in. 03717 22 3344. There's a lot going on in the show. We've got more business to talk about later on with the deal between the Premier League and the EFL. This is going to be one heck of a morning. You're more than welcome to come and join us on the show.
Chaps, how are you?
We're good, man. How you doing today?
Morning,
You all right?
Jeff.
You well?
I'm all right. Goldstein, are you on a wind-up with this Kane to Chelsea thing?
Well, no. I never said it. I asked the question.
Yeah, you done it on purpose, so I'd ring up, didn't you?
Sol Campbell went to Arsenal, didn't he?
No, I knew you was
Tevez
going to come up
went to
with
Man
that.
City. It happens. Definitely happens.
Listen. Kane is proper Tottenham. Don't you know that? Don't you know that?
I know he's proper I know that. I don't think he would do that.
Of course he wouldn't. So why are you talking about it and winding me up
Jeff,
for?
Let me ask you this. Jeff.
I've been working all night on a night shift, right? I'm going home, right? I was all chilled out and relaxed, looking forward to going home.
Now you're all bitter and twisted.
Sorry, Jeff. Sorry.
And now I've switched, right? And now you're winding me up with this. I'll tell you what, if Kane goes to Chelsea, I'll do anything you say. Anything you want.
Well, that sounds weird.
Anything.
I mean, I would.
No.
There's nothing I would say.
No, if you want me to put an Arsenal shirt on the one down Tottenham High Road, I'll do it, right? I'm proper Tottenham. I was born in Park Lane behind the ground, right? From a...
talkSPORT News.
Good morning. The Prime Minister says social care should be funded like the NHS, but has not laid out how. He's having talks with the other two main parties. Lib Dem MP Layla Moran from the Health and Social Care Committee told us they'll lend their support, even if it's not exactly what they want.
We will back it, because what we don't want, and what the committee also doesn't want, is that this becomes the 23rd time that we failed.
The population of England and Wales has increased to 62 million, but the change over the last year to last summer was lower than normal due to a fall in net migration. About 816,500 people came, while nearly 605,000 left. The number of births, balanced out with the number of deaths, led to an annual increase in the population of 19,600. Temperatures could reach at least 33 degrees in parts of Essex and Cambridgeshire later. The forecast is even hotter in Spain and France. Paris correspondent at The Times, David Chazan, says 9 out of 10 fires are started by people.
Either deliberately by arsonists or just by carelessness. People throwing cigarette ends away that are still burning.
More than 33 million illicit cigarettes have been seized from local shops in the past year. The illicit tobacco trade is driven by organised criminal gangs who often sell from small shops and vape stores on UK high streets.
Talk Sport Sports Headlines with Bostik. For high-performance flooring adhesives that won't let you down, pros trust Bostik.
Sign up in 53 days or miss extra funding from FIFA, says Gianni Infantino. And statements from CONCACAF and the FA have revealed a deep concern for due process at FIFA. Charlie has more at 11.
Good morning. You're listening to White and Jordan on Talk Sport, but it's not White and Jordan this morning. They're on their holidays. I'm Adam Catterall. Pleasure as always to be with you. Darragh McAnthony is alongside me, and your partner in crime from last week is here now, mate. He hasn't got his cowboy hat on. He is. Listen, there's a rumour that he did quite well at Goodwood yesterday.
I already won $9,000. I was like, how do you have the money to do that?
Let's get on him.
Thanks, man. Here's that.
Mr. Alex Crook, come on, you're going to have to explain yourself, pal. What happened yesterday?
Yeah, $9,000 might be a little bit of an exaggeration from Andy Goldstein, but I did have 6 winners from 8 races. Which
is he going to a wedding?
He's dressed up, mate. He's ready to go.
Ready to go again.
6 from 8. That's beautiful, mate. Good work. Good work. You didn't share any of them tips, pal. You just kept them to yourself, didn't you?
They were on Twitter actually before the first race.
I'll have to pay attention, mate. I'll have to pay attention. Right, come on. Before you go off then and make a boatload of cash down at the races today, let's talk a little bit more about transfers, because we've been speaking a lot about Real Madrid, this Vinicius Junior situation with Arsenal. What is the latest with it?
Well, the latest seems to be that the direction of travel is that he'll stay at the Bernabeu. Maybe no real surprise. There was always a suspicion, I think, that maybe he was using the Arsenal interest, which I think was genuine, to drive up his pay scale at Real Madrid. We know he's been negotiating a new contract. It looks like he'll probably sign that new deal now. Jose Mourinho always wanted him to stay. And they're building quite the team, aren't they? When you think Yan Diamonde heading there as well. On one side, you've got Vinicius Junior. On the other, obviously, Kylian Mbappe leading the line up front. And they brought in some defensive reinforcements too. So it should be a much better season for Real than they've had in the last couple of years.
You guys crack me up. Vinicius Junior going to Arsenal. You're having a laugh. I never believed it for a moment. Honestly, I saw him, everyone else in the media with their usual nonsense. Oh, this is like breaking news, all in a race. Never going to happen. You're leaving Real Madrid to go to the Premier League. And that's no disrespect to Arsenal. I just can't. When was the last time Real Madrid lost a young, world-class quality player like that to the Premier League? No chance.
Regarding that, because that news has come from somewhere, hasn't it? So it's come from, an agent flipping out? As Alex is saying there, just to drive your contract up, just create a little bit of buzz to get a few more quid?
Do you know what? If you'd said to me 5 years ago it's come from somewhere legit, I'd agree with you. Nowadays, with the amount of idiots and morons who just open up social media accounts with transfer rumours, and there's a lot of them now actually as professionals in this game, and they still talk a lot of crap. I'm not talking about you, Crookie.
Yeah, Crookie, you're all right, mate. Don't you worry, mate. You're his mate. You're fine.
But he can be as bad as the rest. You know what I mean? All the insider
mate,
scoops.
You can't have a go at him. He's down the line. He's not here to defend himself properly.
I'll deal with him when I see him, whatever. But I was never buying any of that. I just don't buy it.
What's the latest, Crookie, with the Barcola deal with PSG and Liverpool?
Yeah, well, this is probably one that Darragh would be more interested in because it concerns his beloved Liverpool.
Don't sign him. Don't sign him.
You don't want him?
No, not for that kind of money, no. We need a central defender. We need another midfielder. Yes, we need a winger. They spent 100-odd million on him. They're not going to do any more. And we need a right back. I just think, I look at his figures and I look at where he is and whatever else. No, I'm not having it. Not having it. Nope. No.
Wow. See, I think he'd be a great addition to the Premier League. But in terms of the figures, obviously PSG were touting over the weekend. They wanted 145 million. I think the opening bid from Liverpool is going to be a lot less than that, maybe nearer the 80 to £100 million mark with add-ons. Will that be enough to persuade them to do business? Who knows? But Barca isn't signing a new contract as it stands, so PSG not necessarily in a strong position.
Why do you think he'll be a serious asset in the Premier League? Tell me what he can do in the Premier League. I've looked at all his data. I've seen his Champions League data. I've seen in France. Someone even put up a comparison with Cody Gakpo, and I'm not his biggest fan. Gakpo was pretty much ahead of him in a lot of the data. World Cup goals, Champions League goals, and I'm not no comparison. But you've just made a statement there that you want to see him in the Premier League and whatever. Why?
I think he's a top player. I think he's been a top player for France. He's part of a PSG team that won the Champions League 2 seasons in a row. And I think we need that bit of stardust in the Premier League. We've lost, obviously, Mo Salah. You'd have been sad to see him go. It doesn't look like Vinicius Junior is going to end up on these shores. Yan Diamonde was wanted by Liverpool at one stage, but he's going to Real Madrid. So I just think it'd be good for the league to sign a player who's won back-to-back Champions Leagues.
Fair comment.
Lots of news this morning, mate. It seems to be gathering some serious pace. The Danny Welbeck situation to Chelsea.
That's done. 2-year contract. He's going to undergo a medical and then link up with Chelsea on pre-season. Both clubs are keeping the fee under wraps, which is interesting. I wonder if we might see a Chelsea player maybe heading in the opposite direction. But a great move for Danny Welbeck. Last big payday of his career. It'll bring great experience, that Chelsea dressing room. Yeah. And I wonder how big a role his partnership with João Pedro down on the Sussex coast has had to do with this, because they had a really good understanding on and off the pitch. João Pedro obviously disappointed not to be part of the Brazil squad at the World Cup. And I think maybe the thinking is that with Danny Welbeck back alongside him, he can have a really good season.
What do you make of that one?
I like the fact that Chelsea owners are learning on the job. Because I've defended them before. They're still quite new, 4 years in or whatever. And the fact they're bringing him and Henderson potentially to Chelsea with that dressing room of talent that they've got, I think that's not good for the rest of the Premier League. I think those two characters in there could galvanise that dressing room. And with Alonso indoors, they're dark horses, Chelsea.
Is that a sign of them listening to their manager?
Absolutely. I think they're listening to their manager, their fans, their technical directors are probably saying that, yes, we have an overall recruitment policy. This is what we do, player transfers and whatever else, and big recruitment. But a couple of those experienced players, we know Jordan Henderson's almost like another coach in that dressing room. That's why they're bringing him in. Certainly not to get into that midfield, in my opinion, when you see the talent they have. Welbeck is a brilliant option. He's at his age, he's been doing brilliant in the Premier League. And like Crookie said there, he's obviously got a relationship with a boy already up front they took from Brighton. So I think those two signings for Chelsea could really galvanise everything they're trying to do. And with Alonso, at the wheel, it's going to be interesting. I think good business.
Crookie, what's the latest with Christian Romero, mate? Because he seems to be being linked with everybody. Barcelona latest one.
Yeah, Barcelona interest has been there throughout the summer. It looked like probably Inter Milan was more likely, but obviously they've signed John Stones, so maybe their need is not as great now. I mean, that'd be a good move for Romero. I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's a bit of a liability. And I think Tottenham are quite willing to let him go now, having signed Jan-Paul van Hecke, Marcus Senesi, Mickey van der Ven will stay despite a little bit of interest in him. So, yeah, I think Romero to Barcelona could well be back on.
And is the John Stones Inter Milan thing done?
Looks like it, yeah. Again, a 2-year contract. We spoke about him yesterday. I think for John Stones at this stage of his career, when obviously he's had his fair share of injuries over the last couple of seasons, I think a move to Serie A, slightly less physically demanding league, is probably a good move. And obviously he's going to have an eye on 2 years' time being part of the England squad at the home Euros.
Nice for his family as well.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful. Because when I read the figures, was it $4 million a year he's getting? I'm thinking, how on earth did some of the top teams let that happen in the Premier League? But he obviously wanted a geography change internationally.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to cheat on his old boys of Manchester City, mate. Move on.
That's not.
Is that not how it works?
No. He's obviously decided it. Listen, it's quite a bit of a graveyard for the Premier League older players, isn't it? Italy is becoming.
Yeah.
De Bruyne.
Well, it's a slower pace of football, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. He's still a top quality player. I'd have loved him at Liverpool.
He had a good World Cup in those knockout rounds when Thomas Tuchel called upon him. And obviously the suggestion from him was that he was actually fit for most of last season and just not picked by Manchester City.
Yeah.
Did you see the debate the other day that
over Van Dijk,
Stones over Van Dijk? Where are you at with that?
Not having that, no.
Van Dijk, your boy?
Yeah, absolutely dominant. Absolutely dominant. And not only that, when you look at a player and you compare them, you always have to look at durability. With all due respect to John Stones, you could accuse him at times of being made of glass. Virgil van Dijk did his ACL and hasn't missed a game or a beat since. How many players have done that?
All right, you've won that argument.
Thank you.
Final one on Savinho, because this is read it said again over the last 24 hours, mate, about maybe a move to Spurs for him, the Man City winger.
Again, I don't think the interest from last summer and in January has ever really gone away. It was Pep Guardiola who put the the stoppers to that move this time a year ago, and he had no kind of season really at all at Manchester City. The player is keen to make the move. I think Roberto De Zerbi is keen to sign him. £60 million there or thereabouts is the fee being touted, and this would be another addition to the Tottenham squad that De Zerbi is assembling. And Darragh mentioned Chelsea as potential dark horses. I'm not saying Tottenham are going to win the title, but they're certainly going to be much more competitive than they have been the last couple of years, mainly because I think De Zerbi is an absolute genius.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think De Zerbi's underrated. I think he needs to hang around the club for longer than 2 seasons, because that's probably held him back from being a top elite manager.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Spurs fans. I really am, because they've had a disaster, obviously, the last couple of years. I love the recruitment so far. I think, him as a manager, that stadium, some of the players they've signed, happy days for them this year.
Do they need a striker?
Of course, because you look at, obviously, the injuries up front. So everyone always needs another number 9. You look at it that way. But you'd also say if the ones they have are fit to go, they're in good shape.
Got a question here for you, mate. This is from Warren in Somerset. It's about Liverpool.
Yep.
Would Liverpool not benefit from Henderson on a free transfer in midfield?
No, because I think the way Areola wants to play and the way his teams press and everything else, it would need a lot more than Henderson's legs at this age. In the dressing room, maybe to help, of course. I would look at Henderson and go, is he a future manager? As an owner in an EFL club, you see the way people talk about Jordan Henderson. You see his reputation with players, with staff. He would be on the wish list to interview as somebody, once his career is over, to manage a football club. Now, I'd imagine he's going to end up managing in the Premier League or the top of the Championship, but he's obviously got those leadership instincts, and that's why Chelsea want him in their dressing room. Liverpool still have Alisson and Van Dijk, so not as desperate for Jordan Henderson right now.
Talk to me about recruitment policy, obviously, being a man that owns a football club and what have you.
Yep.
Crookie, by the way, thank you very much, mate. I'm just going to get stuck in.
Enjoy the funeral, Crookie.
Yeah. And make sure you put them tips on social media, pal, because we're going to keep up to date with you. All right? Top man. Thank you very much, Crookie. Much appreciated. Who dictates the obviously you dictate the budget, but who dictates what you're actually looking for? Is it a collaborative conversation between you, management, the technical director, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So it works with me, Barry Fry, the manager, the assistant manager, and then we have our analysts that work for us. And then we collectively, my manager he's brilliant. He's one of my favourite guys. He's actually not that fussed about being all that involved with the recruitment side of it. When I say that is, he has an opinion, he knows a player, and we wouldn't sign anyone without going to him and saying, what do you think of this? But we collectively all work together. All he wants to do is go out and coach and work his nuts off basically 24 hours a day. That's what he does. But it's always a collaborative effort. Nobody comes to our football club without any manager of our club basically agreeing to it. We have a very certain way we recruit. Everyone knows what we're kind of well known for, but it's not like we just bring players in and hand deliver them. I'll give an example. In June, there was a player we were looking at and we signed him. And there was a question mark amongst all of us that we like the player qualities, all the technicals, all the things we look for in a player. But we were looking at coming from the Premier League. We've always had a bit of a thing with that. Some of the lads that come out of the Premier League, is he going to adapt? And sometimes they earn too much money in the Premier League. And we basically rang around. I was in Dubai. We were on like a conference call, 5 of us. And in the end, we're like, let's do it. And it was actually a brilliant signing. But again, there was like, we weren't questioning marking the player's ability or talent. It was just that whole mentality dropping down.
Temperament coming into the...
Correct. And I couldn't have been more... the player is absolutely amazing that we signed. Love him.
What do you make of clubs then that have a maybe opposing policy to that, where it is run from upstairs and the coaches just got to get on?
I understand it because, nowadays, my manager will tell you his career average timeline is short. It's 11 months. I think the average manager lasts 11 months. So for most clubs, they look at it and go, if we keep signing players for a particular manager, or that a manager keeps signing players, we're going to be in trouble here in a minute, because if he's sacked, the next guy comes in, we'll end up with like 30 players belonging to 3 different managers and no sense of style and no sense of purpose. So a lot of clubs nowadays have a certain way to recruit. I always tell every manager that comes into our club, we're Peterborough, we're not Man United. We have a certain way we do business. We sign 18 to 23-year-old young talents. We'll sign a couple of experienced players. We work with our academy, which is Cat 2, to bring good young talents through. And that's really important for us, as is the style of football. If you don't like that, don't come. But that's who we are. We don't lie about who we are as a football club. We get 8,000-9,000 people every week. We can't compete with Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday on a Saturday financially. But what we can try and compete with is clever recruitment.
That's the key thing, isn't it? Transparency, communication.
Always. Tell the truth.
From the offset.
My fans have gone mad since 5 days ago when I sold one of our best players. Absolutely gone mad. I didn't even know. My missus was ringing me on social media.
She's going mad at you.
No. She was going, all this. There's some ginger fella who's one of the fans who's gone absolutely nuts. And he's gone way OTT. And my wife is an American. She's like, my God, this guy keeps coming up in my time.
Do I know that fella?
No, you don't. No, it's not Adrian. No. To be fair to Durham, Durham's really no.
I was like, where's this going?
Durham's really supportive. He's actually, to be fair, he's okay. He's no problem. Do you know what I mean? AD understands what we're trying to do. You know, we're not a small club, but we're a club always punching above our weight. Anyway, so I signed a boy a year ago for 70 grand. Took him out in non-league, 70 grand, and he was a punt. We would call it a punt at the time. My gaffer at the time wasn't sure, but we were all like, it's a punt. Let's spend the 70 grand. My current manager developed him. All right, and he's done brilliant. He's had a great season, and we just sold him in a deal that will surpass 6 million inside 11 months.
Great business.
Now, a club our size can't turn down that business, but more importantly, for a boy and his family who came into us on 700-800 quid a week, and obviously we gave him a pay rise since then, is now basically going to be earning, you know, X amount thousands per week. You're going to have a problem if you stop those players going on to the next level. And that's where it becomes really difficult for a club our size. We want to win promotions, we want to do well, but we don't want to stand in people's way if it's good for them, good for us.
It's also good marketing for you for players coming in future-wise. Where you can say, listen, 100%. We do this, this and this, and this is where this guy goes to if you work hard.
In one way, yes, and another way, no. It's brilliant where people want to bring their best young players to us and we can sign them, but we want them to stay a little bit longer and win promotions.
Of course.
And then in the bad way, they all think we have the Brewster's billions because it's out there, because guys like, you know, talkSPORT and Sky Sports start reporting figures and fees and all the things that are out there and think,
we embellish stuff, we've got to embellish
Peterborough's got loads of money now, you know, and we don't. But again, like I said to you can't keep everyone happy, but I always say to my fans, I don't tell them lies. We know every year we have a 5 million hole to fill. That's what we lose every year with what we do. And we always fill it by
lose, or that's what it costs to actually run it.
That's what we lose. That's our cash flow hole every year, 5 million, because of the size of our club, and we obviously spend a lot of money on transfer fees. We have a Cat 2 academy, so we start every year with a 5 mil hole to fill. And I fill some of it, and we sell players to fill the rest of it. And that's how we operate, like a lot of football clubs. And there's no shame in that. And I'll tell our fans, we will be spending. Calm down. Calmate.
Keep your calls coming and join it this morning. 03717 223344. It's White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Coming up next, we're going to be looking at a potential landmark deal for the EFL.
Thomas Tuchel, what he said, he's a key player for us, whether as a starter or as a substitute. The word substitute will even be uttered about Virgil van Dijk. Imagine someone saying that to Virgil van Dijk, even at 40.
No, I think a substitute. No. You're massively cherry picking.
I'm saying. No. Sorry, they just played the clip. No. They just played the package, and it was Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, saying he's a key player for us, whether as a starter or a substitute.
This is appalling from you. This is the very definition. You know when Donald Trump's moaning about fake news? It's you.
Sorry, I just basically quoted what the England manager said.
Okay. How important is context? The reason that he spoke like that is because he was accused of taking an injured player to a tournament. So the reason that he said he's going to be a key player for us, whether he's a substitute or whether he's a starter, is because it was suggested that you shouldn't take a player who has had an injury-ravaged season.
Oh, no. Injury-ravaged career.
Injury-ravaged career, fine. But the reason that he was talking about being a substitute...
I feel bad here because you're about to make me bury John Stones, and I don't want to. I think John Stones is a fantastic human being, fantastic defender.
You're not going to bury
maybe England's greatest defender... Maybe it's 50, 60 years.
He's England's greatest defender since Bobby Moore. Of course he is. He's England's greatest defender. If you look at what he's done on an...
big statement.
Hang on, can we just talk about John's
statement?
Addy.
There's
a moral victory for me in this debate already.
You're saying, look what he's done, because you're going to say Gareth Southgate went to the semi-final, went to the final of the Euros. That's not him.
No.
morning. You're listening to Mid Mornings on talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall Darragh McAnthony alongside me from FIFA to the Premier League and EFL now, mate. You ready?
Let's go, baby.
English football chiefs held crunch talks yesterday in a bid to thrash out a £1.5 billion 10-year deal and avert the threat of a settlement imposed by the sport's new regulators. Sources said that the group of six gathered just 48 hours before the Premier League hopes to stage a vote of its 20 clubs to approve the landmark deal being formally put to their lower league counterparts. A separate part of this money, worth hundreds of millions of pounds over the deal's duration, would be ring-fenced for EFL clubs to use for funding infrastructure improvements. What do you make of all this? This has been going on for a period of time. Now the regulator is involved.
I'm on the EFL board, so I can't even really talk about this.
Okay.
But I'll try.
Good man. Skates around it. I'll try and poke in. Go on.
Yeah. No, look, everyone knows that, the current deal and the deals over the years, there's been an imbalance. And all we're trying to do is fix the imbalance. And the football pyramid is the most important pyramid in world football. If the MLS had it, they'd probably be a lot more successful. There's nothing like our leagues. And I understand the Premier League's all about the Hollywood factor and the big world-class players and all of that. But look at the England team. Look at what the EFL has contributed towards that England team. And I've just spoke about young players coming from non-league, working their way all the way to the top. That's what our industry is. And it's not, when I go on Sky, it's always about the Premier League. And I'm always the one all fair going, can we talk about the EFL? Because there's a lot more to football than just the Premier League. And yes, I'm a Liverpool fan, but I love the EFL. And when it comes to the crunch and the playoffs and all those things that happen, it's the greatest for me in the world. And I think the Champ is like the 5th biggest league out there in the world.
Yeah.
So again, we look at the deal we have, and this is a deal that needs to happen. The regulators come in. He's made it a priority that he sees there's also most likely a disparity in.
They want this done before the start of the new season, yeah?
They do. I think so, yeah. Will it get done? I don't know. I know talks are happening. I think we're in a much better place than we've previously been. I think Rick Parry and everyone at the EFL is doing an amazing job on that front. And now the Premier League are talking. Last time it wasn't so much talking. This time it's actually proper. I think hopefully something will break in the right way. I know people are leaking these figures and the things you're talking about there, and that's done for a certain reason. And that's not been leaked by the EFL, by the way, when I read that. So there's a long way to go still. But I'm hopeful that we can break bread and get it done.
What are you looking for?
Well, I'm not going to tell you what we're looking for because that's not how negotiations work. But obviously the EFL have made it very clear to the Premier League what we think is like the line in the sand, what's fair, and compared to what we have at the moment. So changes are afoot, and we're very optimistic that, both parties can get something done. But it's going to come down to a lot of compromise.
Are you confident?
Yes. I'm more confident now than I was 2 years ago because I know that there's a backstop in place, there's a regulator now in play, and the Premier League need to do something because if the decision is taken out of their hands, then they won't get to decide the actual amount, and that could be a problem for them. So I think they realise the urgency that they need to get to the table, and they need to be fair in their approach. So I am very confident. Am I confident it will happen in 2 weeks' time? No. But I am confident it will happen in a matter of months, not years.
Why has it not been fair over the years?
If you break down the percentages and the revenue that's shared and what flows downstream to us, we're all part of a so-called football family.
Yeah.
When you look at the disparity in the finances, the Champ, League 1, League 2, you would say, well, we're a very disliked member of the family. When you see those figures, it makes no sense whatsoever.
You're getting back Christmas presents, are you?
Yeah, if you're lucky, and probably on the never. And again, we're not asking for more money to give to players and spend more on transfer fees.
Is it so it's for infrastructure of those clubs, yeah?
I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is that our clubs lose millions every year. And we want to get our act together. We want to be more sustainable. But more importantly, we want to build our infrastructure out. We want better stadia. We want better pitches. And we want better academies. We want a lot of things that are better for the game long term. And it will ultimately result in the game being cheaper for fans also.
Okay, can I ask you a question on that? How does that then, from a Premier League point of view, how does that benefit them?
Well, that benefits them that if our academies are thriving and producing great young talent, like my academy does every year. Like we sold a 14-year-old to Brighton a couple of months ago for $500,000. And Brighton were unbelievable to deal with. Not all clubs are unbelievable to deal with. They come in and they can, under the previous terms of the deal, they can take your players for X amount of money. There's a whole table on it. Clubs like Brighton and other big clubs and whatever else play fair. And we need more fairness from the Premier League. So, again, we're not being greedy. We're asking for what's fair. If you look at the way the percentage breakdown is and the parachute payments and the whole structure, we as an EFL, we feel it's not enough. And again, this isn't money for owners. This isn't money where we're going to give players pay rises of 200%. And I don't upset the PFA either about that. But sustainable football clubs, people are always employed. Less clubs get in trouble means we pay our bills on time and it's better for our industry. Better academies, better facilities are better for everybody.
I was going to ask you about the wider aspect of the football club, because yes, of course, people are interested in the football and the development of the football and what happens on the grass, but we're talking about bastions of the communities.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
massive
Actual businesses that
that
people.
Our foundation, the work they do in the community, and they're not owned by us, but our foundation.
And part of this deal affects that. Does it?
Well, of course, because it's money you could donate in some way if you wanted to help your foundation even more. It's we have an academy with basically hundreds of young players. There are parents, everything that's involved. We have employees. They're all basically in one training ground. And again, you're squeezing all of this in. And we're a Cat 2 Academy. We've spent millions on domes and all the facilities to qualify for that criteria, to protect the value of our players, to produce players for our first team, and hopefully produce players for England in the future, because that's really important too. I just think a fair balance will make a much better competitive game. That's all we're asking for. And we've been asking for a while, and we feel now people are starting to listen. And hopefully the regulator is going to play a part in that. As well, hopefully, the powers to be that are coming in government. Everyone knows that. No, and this isn't me making the Premier League out to be bad guys. I've heard people on this radio station, other owners, slate the Premier League over TV deals. I think that's the wrong approach. I'm a fan of the Premier League. I'm friends with quite a few of the owners. I'm having lunch with a Premier League owner tomorrow after I do my stint on talkSPORT. So this isn't me being anti-Premier League. This is me being all for fairness across the board.
Looking to create some type of sustainability to the pyramid of the actual game.
Look, here's the reality. League One, as an average, last year I think lost 140 million across all the clubs. That's an average of 5-6 million a club. That's an unsustainable business model.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen big clubs recently get in trouble. That can't happen anymore in our industry. Our industry is one of the best in the world, but we're embarrassing ourselves every time we see a big club or a small club get in trouble. That has to stop. One thing, and I'm going to touch wood here, that I'm really proud of, is I've owned a football club for 20 years. I think I'm like the 5th or 6th longest owner in the EFL, and I've always paid salaries on time every month. And that sounds like a small detail, but
no, it's a big detail.
To me, it matters. But we, like everyone else, struggle every year with rising inflation and rising costs, and we're on the same pretty much money. We get less than $1.5 million a year, basically, in TV funding and Premier League funding or whatever it is. And you can imagine our wage bill and players and whatever else. And this isn't trying to cap players' wages or hurt players' wages. This is just making sure everyone gets paid. I see the other day players.
How many clubs are like yours within the AFL where they are starting in a hole right at the start of the season?
Every one of them.
You've got to recoup all this dough in order to then break even.
They recoup the dough from owners, or they recoup the dough from selling players. So they're reliant on owners. As long as you're reliant on owners, there's always a risk that you're going to be in trouble. If the club is sustainable, the one thing about our club, we do it really well, is we recruit well, we buy well, we sell well, and we have an academy as well that helps also. So if we're losing 4, 5, 5.5 million every year, we always make sure that hole is filled. If it's not, then it comes down to me and my minority partners. Every footballer is in the same position. Now, if Peterborough's losing 5 or 6 million, the bigger clubs in our league are probably losing 20, 30.
Yeah.
So it's scary. And I look at it and go, we're talking about, forget the footballers, forget the stars and the front of house talent. Think about all the employees in the background. They're always the ones who suffer the most. They're the people who have mortgages to pay. And the minute you stop paying wages, a footballer on 5-10 grand a week can afford a couple of months without his wages. Somebody who's on 28-30 grand a year can't afford a week without wages. And that, therein lies, is the issue. And I hate that about our industry. So for me, sustainability is key, and making sure that we get our fair share of the slice of the pie, and making sure we do it as a family at the table and break bread properly, and it doesn't turn into some sort of a battle.
03717 22 33 44. That phone line is open now. As soon as it's Mr. McAnthony sat alongside me, I'm sure you've got plenty of questions regarding running the football club and how certain things happen, and this is your chance. Get stuck in. You can ask that next right here on talkSPORT.
I've read this a couple of times now. I can't help but think when he comes up with lines about people criticising the refereeing decisions and puts lines in his quotes such as "I'm sorry you missed it all," I can't help but think there's a little dig towards the head of UEFA there, Alexander Seferin.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Obviously, Seferin decided to stay away from the World Cup final, which was quite unprecedented. FIFA were briefing, actually, that was a pre-planned decision, but the message coming out of UEFA very much was that it was a protest by their president. Actually, I picked out a couple of screenshots, and he does talk about some of the refereeing decisions and says it's curious the same countries employing these practices are the ones criticising. He's talking about the decision to overturn Flo Balogun's red card, which for me was probably the most shameful moment of this World Cup. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite, Andy. You were there. Troy obviously lives out in the States. I had a wonderful 5.5 weeks. I thought it was a brilliant tournament. I thought the American hospitality was terrific. But let's not pretend it was perfect. He also talks about bringing two countries at war together, uniting two countries at war. Says Iran entered the United States without incident or conflict. I think they would push back on that when you look at the travel restrictions that were imposed on their players. And obviously the manager was quite outspoken about that. So I'm not sure why he's felt the need to do this. You know, it spreads across 15 slides on Instagram. I'm not exactly sure who he's having a pop at. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is Ceferin. Maybe it's some of us in the media who've been critical.
Talk Sport.
With your sports headlines, I'm Charlie Pritchard. Good morning. Pure bribery is how Gianni Infantino's World Cup plans have been described, as he's issued an ultimatum. Sign up in 53 days or miss out. Infantino says a funding package totaling $10 billion will be available if associations sign up. But if they reject it, their earnings will be $2.7 billion. That's almost 75% less. CONCACAF and the FA have released statements showing deep concern over the lack of due process, as they say they were only made aware of the plans following coverage in the media. Broken exclusively by Martin Ziga from The Times, he revealed smaller nations would get a bumper payday of $15 million. He told talkSPORT that figure will tempt them to accept Infantino's terms.
That's like 5 times your annual income, and it being delivered to you in one fell swoop, plus all the sort of regular annual development money you're going to get. I mean, it's I think as I wrote, it's like Christmas voting for turkeys.
Meanwhile, Oliver Glasner has been speaking exclusively to talkSPORT from Forest pre-season camp. He's weighed in on FIFA's plans for a bigger World Cup. He says enough is enough.
I think it's enough, and it should be how it has been. Football in the center of the sports. That's the best thing. That's what every fan loves, what every player loves, every manager loves, and hopefully that stays as long as possible.
And after Jose Mourinho scuppered Arsenal's plans to sign Vinicius Jr., as a result, the Gunners may turn their attention to Bradley Barcola. PSG is said to value him at around $145 million, but Liverpool are the current frontrunners as they prepare an opening bid. Here's Chief Football Correspondent Alex Crook.
I think it will be quite a way short of the $145 million that PSG are quoting as an asking price, nearer the $80 million mark. So you'd imagine there's a bit of work to be done on the fee.
There's more on the website at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Prime Minister will promise to fund social care like the NHS, and temperatures are in their mid-30s again later in the south and the east. There's more from Cara at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
It's cloudy across Scotland and Northern Ireland this morning with outbreaks of showery rain, although some brighter spells are also possible. Elsewhere, it's dry and sunny.
Good morning, you're listening to talkSPORT. It is White and Jordan, but it's me, Adam Catterall and Darragh McAnthony, alongside you this morning, and the phone lines are open, 03717 22 3344. The Peterborough owner is in full floor right now. He's ready for you. He's even put some headphones in.
This tech is terrible, by the way. talkSPORT need to invest in the tech in here.
It's very 1980s
Awful.
there.
Honest to God, Uncle Rupert needs to spend a few more quid. Honest to God. I know he's paying me a lot to be on here, but we need better tech in here. Come on.
Well, you've got the headphones in, you're ready to rock and roll, and Nick's ready to speak to you, mate. So here we go. Nick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, hiya. I mean, I was really keen to understand from Darragh around, the fact that football's played at all levels. And it's really good that he's doing some great work with his academy and so forth. But a number of boys that do go into your academy and others are coming in there really late, around 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I was just wondering how you think that should be filtered down to those grassroots clubs that are producing these players. I mean, if you look at the England football team as an example, there are a number of players in that England football team that actually came through grassroots clubs and didn't go into academies until late. So how do they get, let's say, helped along the journey that you are getting as well as Premier League clubs are getting?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nick. And I believe there is money that comes from some of the Premier League money already that goes down to grassroots, as there is money from the FA, FIFA, UEFA. We obviously pay, not the word tariffs, but we pay like a percentage in every transfer we sign. The EFL has that money. So I do know there is millions that go into grassroots. Not enough, by the way. Not enough to make better pitches, not enough to help with the coaching. You're absolutely right. The pre-academy side of things needs a bit of an overhaul in a positive way, and probably more money put into it, because players come into our academy at like 8, 9 years of age, but they are playing 5 to 8. And like in America, those parents are spending thousands of dollars, you know what I mean, for those kids. And you have these satellite camps all over the UK where, again, the parents are getting charged a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you're basically isolating the parents who can't afford to pay. And probably a lot of young talented players that can't be out there playing every weekend. So you've definitely identified an issue that we already all know about, for sure, Nick.
Top man, Nick.
Right. Thank you. I mean, great response. I mean, is there anything localized that you think that you could do or that other clubs could do for those clubs? And I'm talking about even as simple as giving them a bag of balls. I mean, we're talking about players that just disappear from grassroots clubs and they don't even get a bag of balls as a kind of like thank you.
Trust me, clubs do a lot locally as it is. I mean, we not only what we do locally, but also for like local amateur clubs. We play friendlies. We have our 21s play with them. We lend players for free. There's loads more we can all do. I include that with the non-league, by the way. I said a couple of years ago, I'd be happy for all our players to go to non-league that would go out on loan for free. We've asked for that with the Premier League, who charge us thousands of pounds in wages and accommodation for the players. But getting back to the pre-academy things and what more money could go in, yeah, listen, we all need more money, no matter what level you're at. That's the reality. But here's the truth. There's not enough to go around. So I can't solve that problem today, and nobody else is either. But, when we talk about billion-dollar deals and all these things happening with FIFA, wouldn't it be great if there was a percentage and millions going into those grassroots?
Absolutely. Nick, top man, thank you very much, mate. We've got Tom. Tom, how are you, pal?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Very well indeed, Tom. Come on, mate. You got that. Go for it.
So it was just a quick one, really. With lower leagues, from Championship down to National League, let's say, the televised aspect is nowhere near that of the Premier League, simply because the eyes on the Premier League is where the money is. However, to generate an income, there's more and more people using ways and means to watch football, streaming it illegally, let's say.
Big time.
Okay. If there was a subscription-based product for Championship down to National League, is that going to generate more income?
I've been screaming, like Simon Jordan always says, he talks about the Netflix of Premier League.
Yeah.
I said this a few years ago on my podcast, the Hard Truth Football podcast, that we have to investigate and spend money to investigate before the next TV deals are signed. What would it look like if we did a streaming service? What would it look like if we charged, I don't know, 20, 30 quid a month worldwide for our product?
Yeah.
Because the product's unbelievable.
Exactly.
And, we're trying to grow that product now in America, Asia, and all these other countries. Below what the NFL have done. And that's something all the owners are really into as well now. We have an owners group, and we talk every month, and we have a call every month. And a big thing on that owner stream in my phone right now is about how do we expand our game, expand our revenue, and bring more money into the game abroad.
Clubs have individual things like that, though, don't they? Because, like, for example, I'm a Blackburn fan, so therefore I can...
It's part of... I follow as part of a whole system with EFL. You give a percentage of that away because it's part of our TV deal.
Right.
An extra amount to give up this. Where the games now, there's a lot more games available on Sky. So we got a little extra chunk off Sky.
Yeah.
But now we get less on the iFollow. So we don't make that much on that streaming that you pay for the iFollow.
Okay.
By the time it's all said and done and the split is done and money goes back, it ain't that much. Now, if we actually had a generic one-off deal where it was EFLplus.com, and you went on and you paid, I don't know, 30 quid a month, 25 quid a month, whatever it is, and we had millions of people paying that worldwide for our product, would that revenue surpass what we get from
Sky? Yeah.
Would it surpass what we get from a talkSPORT, a BBC, all the media contracts we have? Would we make more money? We haven't really explored that properly yet, and that's something I think the Premier League are exploring it, and I think that's something that could happen down the line.
Dave, welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Very well, my man. Go for it.
So just a quick one. So Darragh, I'm intrigued. So you got a 5 million black hole every season, which you kindly fill for Peterborough. So congratulations on that. As a Palace fan, well done. Thanks to Dwight Gale.
Thanks, brother.
My question is, you sell players every season. In your budget planning, when you sell players, you might sell someone for 10 million and have a 10% sell-on.
Yep.
Do you use any of that sell-on as your budget? And secondly, do you sell for a lower fee for a higher percentage sell-on if you think a player, like say Michael Elise at Palace, is going to really go on to the next level? Because if he goes to Madrid, Palace will be minted.
That's a great question. Sell-ons play a really important part, and we've already earned money in sell-ons over the last, every year we have that hole of 5 mil. And what can fill that hole is, one is sales, two is us doing better commercially and doing better as a club with Gates. Maybe we get an FA Cup run and get Liverpool away at Anfield and make £1 million, so that helps. I fill some of it, my minority owners fill their bit. And then what happens is, let's say we sold a boy in Scotland, and let's say he got sold to Europe for 30 million or 25 million. We have a sell-on. So suddenly we get an unexpected bonus. A few years ago, I woke up one morning to be told we'd made £2.5 million from British Sombalonga being sold from Forest to Middlesbrough. We had no idea that was happening. Suddenly my hole became a surplus. And it was like, when I say that, my financial hole became a surplus. And beg your pardon.
Yeah.
And we woke up. I woke up.
I was going to leave you there. I wasn't going to help you, but I was just going to let it happen.
But my point is, like, would I sell a player for more of a sell-on than a transfer fee? It depends on the circumstances around the player. I have done deals with clubs I've bought players for where I've given them a bigger sell-on and less of a fee. So there's always a compromise. But the sell-on, there seems to be a new thing for the media that they all get excited about. And I always just laugh because we've been dealing with this for years. We've been doing sell-on deals and making money off players. Ivan Toney getting sold to Saudi. We had a sell-on, made millions more. This is something we've been doing for like 20 years now, myself and Baz, so it's nothing new. Palace now are probably the shrewdest operators in the Premier League, along with Brighton and Brentford, who are just brilliant at what they do, where they get the best value for their players and they sell them for a good surplus. Like you've just done the centre half, I think, to Chelsea. I think you guys made, 30-40 million profit. So that is your way of filling your hole every year financially, regardless of what Palace probably wake up with, which is a lot larger than the Peterborough 5 million hole.
Interesting, though, because Van Hecker went for 52 million from Brighton to Tottenham with 1 year left on his contract. Lacroix is going to go for the same price with 3 years, same age. Seems strange to me. It makes me wonder whether or not the sale of Vuskovic from Tottenham to Brighton was an overinflated price.
No, don't get caught up in a year. Don't get caught up in contracts. I read this nonsense. Okay. Look, fans say this all the time to me. Players got a year left, so they're worth less. When someone rings me and says, we want to buy Ivan Toney, and I say, my figure is 6 + 4, 10 million, and they come back and go, he's only got a year left. I'm going, what difference does that make? You're either buying him now or you're not. I don't care if he's got a year left or 5 years left. How does that affect his value? You're moving into a house. What does it matter? And they come back and they can't give me an answer. So I'll have my 6 + 4.
He could run his contract down and go for nothing.
No, he can do. But all I'm saying to you is, in a market, a buyer's market, where someone wants to buy your centre half, and there's other clubs who want to buy him, what difference does it make? He's got a year left. I know what happened with Gehi, and I know you ended up cashing in and doing well in the January anyway. But with a year out, for me, it makes no difference. I sold George Boyd once, who had 5 months left on his contract. I did him to Hull, and we still ended up making 2 million on it. So you can still make money on players who've got a year left, or 2 years left, or 3 years. It doesn't make, that makes no difference in the valuation stakes for what Brighton paid for that centre half and you guys are getting for yours. That comes down to negotiations. I think you've both got fair deals for your players.
Like what you just, like, all right. Top man. Thanks, Dave. Like what you just said regarding the contract being whittled down. At the end of the day, does that club take the risk, let it run down, and then everybody else comes to market?
That's where you have to have the cojones. Do you run it or do you not? Like when I was selling Ivan Toney, he had a year left. And they were initially not going to Brentford straight away. And I had a conversation with him and his dad. And I said, well, if you don't go to Brentford today, we're basically keeping you for the rest of the season. You can run your contract down. But it either happens now or never. Because we have to replace you. We have a pre-season. We can't let this drag on. So that's the best move for you. Get rocking and rolling. Or by dinner time, if you're still here at St. George's, we had a camp. I said, we ain't signing anyone else and you're staying for a year. And he looked at me and his dad looked at me and they were like gone by lunchtime. Call their bluff sometimes. Call their bluff.
Imagine negotiating with you, mate. Absolute bloody nightmare. Right, let's talk.
Always fair. Always fair.
Let's talk a little bit about women's football, because there's a question here. How sustainable is women's football?
It's not.
It's not at all.
No, neither is our game. Neither game is sustainable. Like, the men's game is not sustainable. We're all losing millions. Women more than us, because they don't have the eyes we have. And I've seen all the nonsense about they should have the same split in revenue and advertising and all that kind of crap. When the women's game bring in more, if my women bring in more money than my men, I put everything into my women's team. I've always said that. I don't care if it's women or men. Whoever's more successful revenue-wise, that's who I'm all in on. And we won the league last year, and our women's team's doing an unbelievable job, and we've just been promoted. But they lose money every year. And the game's going to take a minute. It's come on leaps and bounds, the women's game. Brilliantly so in the UK. But it's going to take a minute. And fair play to Sky, talkSPORT, all the media companies who put a real emphasis on backing the game. But right now, revenue-wise and whatever, it's not sustainable. They're all losing money.
Keep these calls and texts coming in. 03717 22 3344. You're listening to talkSPORT.
Vinicius Jr. I'll read this from the Telegraph Sport, their sports pull-out this morning. Dom King writes, Arsenal prepared to offer Brazilian forward Vini Jr. the biggest contract in the club's history as they plot to outline their soaring ambition. He currently commands a weekly salary, 400,000 euros a week at Madrid, but Arsenal would look to improve that to maximise their chances of pulling off an audacious coup. It kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it, boys, on Saturday afternoon. He's got a year left on his deal at Real Madrid. Arsenal exploring the possibility, Troy, of signing Vinny Jr. Is it going to happen? And if it does happen, where does this rank in Premier League history in terms of biggest coups for the Premier League, not just Arsenal?
If it did happen, it would be amazing for the Premier League to have a superstar on that level in terms of global appeal, blah, 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 all that stuff. I don't like it.
Why?
I don't like it. I don't think it suits the way that Arsenal play. I don't think his personality suits Arteta.
What do you mean his personality?
I think he's a massive diva in regard to like what he wants, what he needs. And I don't think he would buy into the collective. And now that would be something new for Arteta to have to deal with, right? Because he's all about the group. So how do you have Saka on one side, who's the captain, has done everything right, and then you bring in this guy and go, oh, by the way, everyone, give him the ball. And you have to keep giving him the ball. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't think it helps Arsenal.
Mid-mornings on talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall. Darragh McAnthony is alongside me. The phone lines are open. You can ask Darragh whatever you want, within reason.
Anything.
Yeah.
Open book.
Do get stuck in. 03717 223344. We were just chatting in the break there, right? And the amount of insight that you've given us about actually owning a football club.
Too much, probably.
It pains me to think that you must be absolutely addicted to doing this, because losing dough left, right and centre and having all these stresses at the start of the season.
It's a drug. And it's like, I've been doing it 20 years. and it's the most addictive industry. It's the only industry I work in that I pay to work in. I don't get paid to work in. That's the truth. I lose millions of pounds.
That's not good business. I'll be honest with you, mate.
It's mad, and there was a time I was a multi-millionaire, and a great way to become a millionaire is to buy a football club.
Is it?
and but I've had so many enjoyable moments. My children are all at college. 2 of them weren't born when I bought Peterborough. Doing this now 20 years. I still love it like it was yesterday. I'm still passionate about what I do. My time's not going to be at Peterborough forever. I get it, you can't outstay your welcome, but if I moved on from Peterborough, I'd buy another football club. That's how addicted to the industry I am. I work with some amazing people. Barry Fry's 82 and he's 42.
Yeah.
And he's been around the game forever and he's still a legend. And it's the people that keep you going and the challenges every year. And yes, I get flack off some fans, but our fan base has been amazing to me and my family for 20 years. I've been very fortunate that I haven't been abused like a lot of football club owners. But again, I always say to any new owners who come into the game, just tell the truth. If you're having a hard time or you haven't got the money at the time, just tell the truth. Just say, hey, we're going to do our best. I'm short of a few nickels. Next year it'll be better.
When you got involved,
yeah,
what was the dream? What were you?
Premier League.
What were you doing?
I was 29, young and dumb, an idiot. I thought we'd go to the Premier League. I thought it would be easy. I came in, we had a certain policy I put in place based on data analytics long before they were out. We won back-to-back promotions, went League 2, League 1 to the champ. We were tipped to go up again. And then I suddenly met reality, which was the Championship, which is one of the hardest leagues in the world. And, my shillings were basically like tuppence compared to the money that was in that league. So that was very humbling. You learn along the way. But we've had amazing times. We've had promotions. We've won 3 trophies at Wembley. We've done so many amazing things and we've developed. Me and Baz said the other day, we've made more millionaires than the National Lottery regards young footballers. That's how many young footballers we've turned into multi-millionaires. Like we've made their dreams and they've obviously done well for us. And we've given them that platform. And that's something I'm always really proud of.
I'm going to say, is that the most rewarding thing?
It is.
Change lives.
So many players that, played at the top and I'm friends with now years later after they've left the game. And I encourage all my ex-players to become coaches. I want them to stay in the game. I think the game needs great coaches, great ex-players. And I always say, I was trying to sign an experienced player the other day and I was saying, look, I'll pay for your coaching badges as part of the deal because I think you'd make a great coach in 3 years. And he was like, nah, not interested. And it always baffles me because I'd want to stay inside the industry. And then you get other people like Lee Tomlin, who's one of my favourite players, who would basically work for free to coach, who just wants to be a coach and a manager and has that desire and that hunger and you want him to do well. So, I love the industry. It can be heartbreaking. It can be nerve-wracking. It can be very stressful. I've been close probably to have a heart attack a few times. My missus looks at me like I'm a lunatic, what I go through every year. And I miss a lot of my family. I'm not going to see my family for like 5 weeks because I've got to work on recruitment and setting the club up for the season ahead and all those things. So there's sacrifices you make. And when you're getting abused, you always have to remind people, I'm the one paying for the privilege to get abused. I'm not getting paid for this. So try any other industry in the world for that. Just as well you guys pay me the big bucks. To
that's it. Wild game, mate. Wild. Listen, I've got a question on the Premier League attracting stars in a minute, but I'm conscious that so many people are ringing in. Yeah. So I'm going to go to Sean first and foremost. Sean, welcome, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Absolutely brilliant programme, guys. Loving it.
Thanks, Sean.
Good man, Sean. Go on, mate. What do you want to talk about?
Basically, I've got my grandson has just been offered to go to Ipswich Town. He's 7 or just coming up to 7. And we are just concerned, me and my daughter, that is it really good to go to a Premier League club as they are now? Or is it better off waiting till we get to a lower league team and he might get looked after better? We're just concerned. That's
a brilliant question. I will say this. Ipswich are a brilliantly run club, brilliant academy, great young players. The fear always will be if they're in the Premier League, did they have a chance to get through to the top? So if it were my kids, I'd be like, well, I'd prefer them to be at a League One or even a Championship team because you'd have more chance of making it in your career. The percentage of success for these players coming out of academies. And here's the biggest problem with the Premier League academies, and I'm not having to go to the Premier League. I was trying to sign a player last week. The player's on already 11 grand a week at 19. That's way above our pace. He's got a year left. We want to do a 4-year deal. He doesn't want to leave for the year because he wants his money. So now he's going to spend the year there, go out on loan. He could have a disaster. And then where's he gone after that? So I would say to you and your daughter, regard your grandchild, do your due diligence, speak to the people at Ipswich about your concerns. Any good club will always be able to answer those questions. I think it's really important you pick the right atmosphere and the right place for not just your grandchild's, well-being, but also for your daughter's, location and geography.
Yeah.
She have to travel a lot every night of the week to go there for training and all that kind of thing that comes into the decision. And the other good news is he's young, you can always change it in a couple of years and take him to another club.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And he loves his football, and I just want him to enjoy
That's all
it.
that's important.
I don't want pressure on him, and I just want him to, go out there, and if he can make it, he makes it. But the best thing is I want him to love the football, which he does.
Love it.
And that's why I just asked him the question.
Love that. No helicopter parenting.
No.
There's too much helicopter parenting out there regards young players playing.
Sean, does he give you the run around in the back garden, mate? Has he done the nutmegs yet? What's he done to you, pal? Has he embarrassed you?
Yeah, I'm just literally about 5 minutes away. I'm just going to there now. He lives in Mersey Island, just off of Colchester.
Fair play.
And they're my life.
Listen, Sean, reduce him, mate. First thing you do in the back garden, mate, stick it on him nice and let him know what the crack is, pal.
More importantly, Sean, take him to Colchester if there's any doubts for you regards Ipswich, because Robbie and Colchester are one of the best academies I've seen in the last 10 years for young talent and giving players a chance in the first team. So there's your answer.
There you go.
Lovely. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate your help.
Yeah, top man, Sean. Thanks for giving us a ring, mate. Much appreciated. Bill, how are you, pal?
Yeah, good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Come on, Bill. What do you want to talk about, mate?
Just a quick question for Darragh. Obviously, you get different levels for footballers, like National League, League 2, League 1, Premier League. Does the same apply to chairman? Could you be chairman of someone like Liverpool or Everton?
Yeah, with my eyes closed, Billy boy. And that's just me believing in myself and my ability and what I can do. But 100%. And listen, they get paid pretty well. So, if someone in Saudi needs one out there, I'm available. I said I'd go out and shovel sand for the right number.
Yep, no worries. Thank you very much.
So, man, here's a question from Jimmy, right? Regarding the unsustainability of football, right? Well, in what order is the biggest percentage of losses? Wages, agents, transfers, all that type of stuff. How does that all work?
All of the above. But, okay, so as an example, since COVID, I think wages have risen like 200%. Our income has risen nothing. It's like negative. And all our bills, our utility bills, government costs, the change of government, new national insurance costs, minimum national wage, all those things that have gone up have gone through the roof. So, losses for us pre-COVID were 3 million. Post-COVID, they're like 5.5.
Jeez.
So, and this isn't a slight on the players, the PFA or the agents. They get what they ask for sometimes. That's why wages go through the roof. And all we're trying to do is make sure that you don't have hundreds of unemployed footballers at the end of every season,
of course,
out of contract, and basically everyone's earning. So there has to be some common sense approach to it all. But you asked the question, it's wages, transfers, agents. And look, I'm not going to slight agents. It's easy to say the agents are bad guys. If you're the club that pays an agent 10 or 15% commission, that's on you. If you do it right, you pay them a lot less. You can say no. You're allowed to say no.
03717 22 3344. I can still see that loads of people are ringing in to speak to Darragh. We'll get you on the radio in a moment or two.
All the ex-wives.
Right now, though, we're going to speak to John Cushing because he's right across everything that's going on with the Commonwealth Games. John, what's the latest, mate?
Well, Adam, two of the faces of these games for Scotland are in action this morning and contrasting fortunes. Scotland's Josh Kerr, the Olympic 1500-metre silver medalist, the 2023 world champion, the world record holder in the mile, is safely into the final on Saturday here at the Scotstoun Stadium. The Commonwealth Games 1500-metre reigning champion, Oliver Hoare of Australia, fell with 2 laps to go. So it shows the importance of getting through and winning that race. He is safely into the final, Josh Kerr. But contrasting fortunes and a big shock for Duncan Scott in the swimming at Tollcross, the Olympic silver medalist who won gold earlier in these games in the 200-metre individual medley, hasn't made the final this evening of the men's 200-metre freestyle. James Guy of England, Tom Dean of England, Matt Richard of Wales, Jack McMillan of Northern Ireland are all there. 2 Aussies and 2 New Zealand swimmers. It is one of the races of the championships to end the swimming schedule here at these Commonwealth Games. Back here at the Athletics, Northern Ireland's Kate O'Connor leads in the long jump after a 6:37 leap. She's still ahead of Jade O'Dowda, who's in second place. She jumped 6:26 in the end. And if you fancy being here, tickets are still available. Check out glasgow2026.com. This is the Commonwealth Games. It's live across the talkSPORT network.
Top man, John, thank you very much. Keep your calls coming in. 03717 22 3344. We'll get you on the radio in a moment or two. We're also going to talk about the Premier League attracting the top stars across Europe. Can they do that anymore? We'll get Darragh's thoughts on it next.
It has gone crazy, but I think that you almost have to just suspend your reality.
And not the worst things about this crazy spending. How many in the history of the Premier League have actually landed?
No, that's true.
One?
I would say
One,
of
Virgil
the most
van Dijk, one
of the most expensive players in the Premier League. Like Romelu Lukaku is on that list twice.
Yeah.
And he failed twice. Paul Pogba is on that list.
Yeah.
Failed.
Harry Maguire's not failed, but
yeah. I mean, Andrei Shevchenko at one point would have been on that list. Failed. Fernando Torres at one point would have been on that list. Failed.
Yeah.
There are countless examples of players who have moved for huge amounts of money, come with that level of expectation.
Declan Rice has lived up to it.
Declan Rice has most certainly lived
still
up to
too much, but he's lived up to it.
Well, Declan Rice is actually an interesting one because I would argue that if there is a £100 million player, Declan Rice is it. Declan Rice.
That's
I think Declan Rice has. Well, if you look at what Declan Rice has done since he's been at Arsenal, he won European silverware, uninspiring European silverware in my opinion, but he won European silverware at West Ham. He then went to Arsenal and was the catalyst to them ending a 20-year Premier League trophy drought. So yeah, I think if anybody is worth, he's been a stalwart of an England team that has had some relative success.
I almost think that that's part of the problem. You're part of the problem then.
I'm part of the problem.
How can you say you think he's worth $100 million? Do you know how much that is? £100 million.
If anyone is worth £100 million on a football pitch, it's obviously Declan Rice.
Yeah. Okay.
talkSPORT News.
Good morning, I'm Cara Bentley. The Prime Minister's said his generation of politicians are to blame for not reforming social care already. He said no one is going to get their perfect plan enacted.
We're all going to have to give and take here, aren't we, if we're going to get to a solution? We're all going to have to listen to each other, something we don't do particularly well in politics. Actually engage and listen to other perspectives.
Temperatures could reach at least 33 degrees Celsius later in Cambridge and Chelmsford. Rob Gazzard, wildfire advisor from the Forestry Commission, says people need to be careful with their phones.
We will know that using equipment sometimes gets really, really hot. And it just takes that debris which is inside the equipment to start combusting. We might want to drop it on the floor because it's getting very, very hot and on fire, and that could spread a wildfire.
3 million households with at least one person of working age in are not working at all. Inverclyde and South Tyneside appeared in the areas with the highest percentages of workless households in the last 2 years. A new weight loss pill is more popular with older men than the weekly injection because it is discreet and easier to take. It was approved last month. About 2/3 of patients taking the new pill have switched from the injectable versions.
talkSPORT Sports Headlines with Bostik. For workable, easy-to-apply mortar that tools easily, pros trust Bostik.
Gianni Infantino's World Cup plans have been described as pure bribery, and statements from CONCACAF and the FA have revealed a deep concern for due process at FIFA. Amelia has more at 12.
Phone lines are open this morning to speak to Darragh McAnthony. 03717 223344. My mate's just texted me, right? He's a City fan, and he's just sent me a text going, if you could only deal with one team going forward when it comes to transfers in and out, who would you deal with?
There's too many that do me favours and do really well. I would name Brentford. I would name, who else? I would name Palace. I would name Coventry as one of my favourites. Even Millwall are my new favourites. But they've all been a pleasure to deal with. We've dealt with some big clubs, some of the big Premier League clubs, and it's been interesting.
Good, transparent business. I won't flip it and say, who do you not want to deal with?
There's a few of them too, but yeah. But what I often find is that, and I say this to some of the chairmen that get a bit aggrieved at how I try and operate or try and buy a player or whatever else. A lot of owners probably don't like me in football because they've never met me and don't know me. There's always this preconceived notion about me as a loudmouth, somebody who's quite aggressive. There's a bit of jealousy and envy going on, do you know what I mean? Because I'm obviously in the media and do all that stuff. But when people know me and meet me, they have a completely different view. I'm not what you think I am. I'm pretty down to earth and I'm very direct. And I say to some of the owners who...
That can put people on the back foot, though. The directness can put people on the back foot. But in your game, you have to be direct, don't you?
You have to be direct. And I get nowadays, the modern society, people are a bit weaker-minded when it comes to directness, and they don't like it, and they don't like being challenged. But I'd rather people were direct. I don't like beating around the bush. And more clubs are, I was emailing yesterday with a top champ side, and the guy said it, and he goes, geez, I love the directness. Because I just said, look, let's not go backwards and forwards with the old, sorry, not for sale. Sorry, we don't like the offer.
How much?
Just tell me, what is it you want? And I'll tell you, I can't afford to go away or F off. That's why I said in the email, and he goes, I love your transparency and directness. Can I have your mobile? So you start talking. So there has to be more of that, And then there's other people like the bigger clubs or whatever who are not even owners, they're employees who are very arrogant and won't even answer you. And I always find that funny because there's only 72 AFL clubs, there's only 20 Premier League clubs and 20 obviously National League clubs that you might need a job someday. So the idea as an employee that you would be disrespectful to an owner, never mind, another employee, I just find it mad sometimes. But that's football for you. I will say this to everyone. Don't make enemies. You can have rows and rucks, but don't hold grudges. There's no point in having grudges in this game because you're going to come across each other.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Sean Martin's joining us this morning. Sean, how are you, mate?
Morning, lads. All good, all good. How are you doing yourselves?
Very well indeed, mate. Listen, like I said, I can sit here all morning picking the brains of Darragh and football ownership and all that type of thing. How are you?
All good, yeah. All good. It was interesting to hear Darragh's perspective on who he likes to deal with. You ever dealt with Celtic by any chance?
I have a few times, yeah, to be fair. And obviously Martin's a friend of mine as well, so I hope he wins another title this year.
There you go.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Let's take a look at Chelsea, shall we? How are they preparing for the new season, mate?
So, they got off to a winning start under Xabi Alonso yesterday. They beat Western Sydney Wanderers 6-4. Obviously, ultimately, they're looking to return to where they feel they should be after finishing 10th last season. That said, they were actually inside the top 8, so the European spots, for 33 of the 38 match days last season. Only really started kind of falling away near the end, so it's maybe not quite as big an ask as it seems on paper. They've got what could be a benefit in that they've no European football, so a straight run, so to speak, at the league. It worked for Man United and Newcastle in the last couple of seasons. They've both got Champions League football in those circumstances, and we have got Chelsea odds on for top 4 at 10-11, 7-2 for a top 2 finish, and 9-1 fifth favourites to win the league title itself. Now, Morgan Rogers has come in for a British record fee. Fantastic player, I must say. He absolutely tore Celtic to shreds a couple of seasons ago. But they've been linked with the likes of Jordan Henderson, Danny Welbeck, even Granit Xhaka earlier in the summer. So to me, that suggests Xabi Alonso's arrived. He's looked about the dressing room, said, yeah, this needs a bit of maturity, a bit of experience to set a culture, and essentially resale value, be damned, their value will not be monetary. Where do you lads fall with Chelsea? Is he the man to kind of turn all this spending into bigger trophies than the Club World Cup, Conference League? They're also 9-1 for the FA Cup.
I like him. I like him. I think Chelsea will be a threat this year. I think there'll be a problem. I like them. I've always liked the recruitment, to be fair, and they've signed some good players. As a Liverpool fan, I'm envious of some of the signings. I think he's a very talented manager. I don't think Real Madrid just saw the best of him. I think that was circumstances. Yeah. I think this project where he's taking the title manager over head coach is showing you he's put his cojones on the table and gone, you want me, I'm the manager. You want me, I need 2 experienced players. You want me, this is how we're going to do it. And I like the fact that the Chelsea owners are humble enough to, I say that with irony, to go, no problem, we'll get you the 2 experienced players, we'll change a little bit of our recruitment, we'll still overall sign young talent, but we're going to get you centre half that's over the age of 25, we're going to get you a couple of leaders in the dressing room. Welbeck's very well known at Brighton for leading. You know, obviously Jordan Henderson's well known at England and Brentford for leading. So if them two can't fix that issue in the dressing room that maybe Chelsea had last year, what hope is there? But I do fancy Chelsea.
And as Sean was just saying there, no European football. That's actually a bit of a godsend, isn't it, for a first season?
Like United last year, yeah. The United fans, you know, thought at one stage they might even be winning the league. And you know, you're absolutely right. What were the odds on them winning the title?
91 to actually win the title. 91 also for the FA Cup. So even within that, I think that's pretty good value for the FA Cup when you think of them having no other kind of priorities other than domestic scene. I mean, we've got a Chelsea fan in amongst us at BetMGM, and he pointed out 2 things actually. First of all, was Chelsea hadn't paid a fee for anyone 26 or older since 2022, and in his view, despite some notable successes among the kind of large spending, he still thinks a lot of it's been wasted. The other point he made, which I think might dovetail quite well with the lack of European commitments this season, is basically just that some key players didn't go to the World Cup, which you kind of forget. Cole Palmer, João Pedro in particular, but even players like Caicedo, Pedro Neto, they did go, but they were out relatively early. So I thought it was an interesting point, and coupled with the 3 midweeks, I wouldn't shy away from backing them in the domestic cups at least, guys.
Yeah. Favourites on with BetMGM Arsenal this year?
Yeah, Arsenal do go in as favourites for the Premier League. I don't think that'll surprise too many folk. They're 6-4, so quite short. Man City behind them at 5-2, Liverpool 11-2, but they are also close second favourites for the Champions League. Arsenal, we have them 6-1 behind PSG at 5. They essentially dominated the Premier League last season. They took PSG all the way to penalties in the Champions League final. This divided opinion when I said it in the office earlier. Is it too harsh to say that the only tangible improvement that they can make is to retain the title and then go one further and actually win the Champions League? Do you reckon that's too harsh?
No, I think for me they should want to retain the title. It hasn't been done that many times over the last 10, 12 years. Liverpool couldn't do it. Man City did it many times. So to retain the title really says, hey, we're here. You know, we're the best around. I thought Liverpool were going to do it last year when they were spending all that money. Yeah. So for me, look, the Champions League for Arsenal, yes, of course they'd love to win it. They've never won it before, but I'm sure their fans would take another title.
Yeah, I get what you say. What I would add there, and we were talking about this earlier, because it was me that says that I think that's the only tangible way to improve it. I was only stirring the pot slightly, to be fair.
That's what football's about, isn't it? You've got to stir it up with people, give them a little bit.
Now that they've got the monkey off their back by winning that title, going into this season, you could argue they're the only one of the kind of old school big six, let's call them, to have almost proper stability. You think Man City, new manager, could lose Rodri. Liverpool, new manager, have already lost Salah and Robertson. Man United, yes, same manager, but stakes are much, much higher. They're going to be playing 3 times a week. Yeah. Chelsea, new manager. Sorry, on you go.
The interesting thing for me, Sean, and Darragh, I don't know about you, is whether they do now start to just take the shackles off a little bit. Because last season was all about winning, wasn't it? Sure. Get it over the line, do it clean sheets. Whatever way, doesn't matter, just win. Now they've won, they've got an incredible amount of expansive talent there. Do they let it off, and do they entertain a little bit more?
Yeah, no, I said the other day, it depends on how some of their world-class players, per se, are fitness-wise. And if they're tired or fatigued, obviously Declan Rice, Saka, these players have played so many minutes through the season last year, winning that Premier League. Some of them were playing in the League Cup games. So he's got a big squad. He's going to have to use it this year. It depends on those players report back after the World Cup and how Arsenal start the season. So I wouldn't put it past them going back to back, but I wouldn't say it's a given and guaranteed. As for styles, I think when a manager wins a title, the style's out the window, and they'll revert back to the scene of their former previous crime, which will be win by any means necessary. That's just normal.
Yeah. But and let's not forget, one of the big stalwarts, Saliba's out for a period of time.
That's a problem.
That's a huge injury. I know they've got some good lads to come in and cover.
He's world class,
but he's not Saliba.
No, absolutely world class.
So that'll be big as well. Listen, Crookie, even though he said to us yesterday, Sean, right, that he was going to give us the tips, he didn't give us the tips. So we're coming to you now, mate, for a bit of Goodwood loving. So what have we got for us, pal?
I heard they might have been quite successful with those tips.
Oh, mate, he's had a worldie yesterday.
Yeah. £9,000 richer.
Fair play to Crookie. It is day 2 of Glorious Goodwood. Feature race of the day today is the Sussex Stakes at 4:10. Bo Echo, the 11-10 favourite for that one, ahead of Gastad at 11-4. They actually met last month at Royal Ascot, with Bo Echo winning the St James's Palace Stakes that day. Elsewhere, our race ambassador Meg Nichols was liking the look of Adonis in the Moulcombe Stakes, which is the race before the Sussex. That's at 3:35. Adonis floating around about the 4-1 mark, and I'll give Meg another shout here because she tipped up a 6-1 winner, Twilight Calls, in the 10:4 yesterday, and I will certainly be keeping a wee eye on her tips on the blog section of the BetMGM website because there's another 3 days worth to come on there for Goodwood, guys.
Top man. Sean, did you say you're a Celtic fan?
I am a Celtic fan.
What do you make of the new signing, mate? What is it, 11 million quid that you've waxed on centre forward?
Yes, the producer will be going, oh, don't get him started on Celtic.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm here for, mate. Rev you up. Go on, pal.
I mean, it is great to see recruitment of that ilk. It is a record fee. I'm sure we'll chat about Scottish football maybe more later in the week with it kicking off this weekend. But as far as Celtic goes, I would guess many others, albeit I only speak for myself ultimately, remain concerned at kind of time frames when it comes to recruitment each summer, particularly in regard to European qualifiers. So it is good to see that level of deal getting done before the qualifiers for once. Still major concerns, and we might get into this tomorrow or something, but still major concerns over almost transparency with the club and executive leadership and stuff. But as it stands with that signing, very happy with it.
Mate, very diplomatic that, Sean. Listen, I'll get you revved up before the end of the week, pal. All right, I'll see you again, no doubt, tomorrow. Top man, there you go. Sean giving us all the insight and the latest odds with BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. You've got to be over 18. BeGambleTheWord.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Right. Just a quick one before we go to break. Earlier on, Crookie, as soon as I mentioned him a couple of times there, he was talking about the Premier League. Are they still able to attract Europe's biggest stars? Because we've been talking about Vinny Jr., we've been talking about Diamande, we've talking about all these lads that were linked with certain clubs in the Premier League, but have now chosen to go elsewhere. Serie A, La Liga, all these types of things. Do you think we can? Do you think the big Premier League clubs can still attract the biggest of stars?
I think so. I still think we have many world-class stars, and you start with Haaland. So I think when you're competing with Real Madrid, you've always got a problem, because the players are always going to choose Real Madrid. It's probably the most iconic football club in the world. I'd like us to have more stars. I don't disagree with Crookie on that. I just didn't think Vinicius was ever going to leave Real Madrid to come to the Premier League, never mind Arsenal. But as the money gets bigger and bigger and the next Premier League deal will be bigger, you'll see more world stars come into our leagues. We have more money than any of the rest of the leagues. Now, you can isolate Madrid and Barcelona revenue-wise as the biggest clubs in the world, different in money, but most of the time we have the money. And we also have basically the eyes on us as well for viewing ratings. So if you're a world-class footballer, there's no better league to play in than the Premier League.
Have your say on that as well. 03717 22 33 44. We're going to be speaking to Joe Gallagher as we step into the world of boxing next. Don't go anywhere.
This is probably one that Darragh would be more interested in because it concerns his beloved Liverpool.
Don't sign him. Don't sign him.
You don't want him?
No, not for that kind of money, no. We need a central defender. We need another midfielder. Yes, we need a winger. They spent 100-odd million on him. They're not going to do any more. And we need a right back. I just think, I look at his figures and I look at where he is and whatever else. No, I'm not having it. Not having it. No.
Wow. See, I think he'd be a great addition to the Premier League. But in terms of the figures, obviously PSG were touting over the weekend. They wanted 145 million. I think the opening bid from Liverpool is going to be a lot less than that, maybe nearer the 80 to 100 million pound mark with add-ons. Will that be enough to persuade them to do business? Who knows? But Barker isn't signing a new contract as it stands, so PSG not necessarily in a strong position.
Why do you think he'll be a serious asset in the Premier League? Tell me what he can do in the Premier League. I've looked at all his data. I've seen his Champions League data. I've seen in France. Someone even put up a comparison with Cody Gakpo, and I'm not his biggest fan. Gakpo was pretty much ahead of him in a lot of the data. World Cup goals, Champions League goals, and I'm not no comparison, but you've just made a statement there that you want to see him in the Premier League and whatever. Why?
I think he's a top player. I think he's been a top player for France. He's part of a PSG team that won the Champions League 2 seasons in a row. And I think we need that bit of stardust in the Premier League. We've lost, obviously, Mo Salah. You'd have been sad to see him go. doesn't look like Vinicius Junior is going to end up on these shores. Jan Diamonde was wanted by Liverpool at one stage, but he's going to Real Madrid. So I just think it'd be good for the league to sign a player who's won back-to-back Champions Leagues.
Fair comment.
Good morning. You listen to Mid Mornings on talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall. Darragh McAnthony is alongside me. We are going to point our attention for the next few moments or so to the world of boxing.
Awesome.
Because very kindly, Joe Gallagher's given up a bit of time to come and join us. Joe, how are you, mate?
Not too bad, Adam. God, I can't stop seeing you no matter where eternity at the airport.
We're everywhere, mate. I'm everywhere. I'm hunting you down, pal. Hunting you down. Listen, the reason for this is because obviously everybody off the back of the weekend's been speaking AJ. Lots been speaking about Hamza and the performances of Josh Kelly. And your boy's kind of gone under the radar, and we need to celebrate him a little bit more because there's not many flyweights on the planet, mate, with dynamite in their hands. Mikey Talon, once again, stepping up on a Turkey El Sheikh show and doing the business. You must be incredibly, one, proud, and two, impressed of the way that this young 20-something's going at the moment.
Yeah, Mikey Talon, listen, he's that unassuming kid. You look at him and you won't think he was a boxer. But as you see, once he gets in the ring, he has that devil, he has that spite about him, hence why we nicknamed him the Omen. But for 20 years of age, 21 years of age, being on 4 of the big shows now, obviously Canelo, Crawford, then it was on Fury, and then it was a Eubank Ben, and now obviously that the weekend, it just shows when he steps up to the big stage, he delivers. And he was in against a good opponent on Saturday night, and I was a little bit worried before it because the kid couldn't punch. But the way that Mikey set about work, his composure, and the body shot was like a gunshot. It broke 2 of the lads' ribs, and we arrived back in Manchester, and there's a nice post by His Excellency Turkey El Sheikh saying he's got to support him all the way. So, yeah, life's good at the moment for Mikey Talon.
He seems a really humble kid, Mikey, whenever I speak to him. But that must be mad that Turkey El Sheikh, the guy that is kind of running boxing right now, has taken a little bit of affection to this mad little scouser that's doing bits in your gym, mate.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, he got picked and chosen, and he's put him on 4 of his shows, and he's delivered, and he's got excited about him. But yeah, it's great. He's the most powerful man in world boxing at the moment now, and to have that endorsement and that following is great for Mikey, and to have him turn around and say he'll support him through his career. It's good, but he's just fought in a big show, but as you know, Adam, it'll be out next on a small hall, and then it'll be on one of the big shows before the end of the year.
And I think that's doing wonders for keeping his feet on the ground and keeping him humble and what have you. How hard is it to just keep the shackles on him, mate? Because when you're a flyweight that's knocking people out like he's knocking them out, there's going to be calls to move him relatively quickly. He's a young man. What is it, 7 fights this year? What's the plan? Because people are going to start talking about when's he going to be challenging for the top titles.
Yeah, well, he turned his pro October 2.5 years ago. So at the end of the year, Mike is 15-0 now. I want him to be 18-0. Summer next year, around 21-0, and then we'll take the shackles off and he'll be ready to go. Then he needs, like I said in the ring, a year or so of seasoning. We're not in no rush, although I think His Excellency might want to push him a little bit quicker. But listen, he's a kid. He's just like a normal kid that's just enjoying boxing. As you see, he turns up at the show and you wouldn't think he was a fighter, but then he goes in there, turns the magic on and delivers knockout performances.
Yeah. Listen, I've got to ask you about AJ, mate, seeing as that you were there at the weekend. What did you make of the performance?
I just thought it was a great 5 minutes of a shootout. The first 20 seconds, maybe AJ got caught cold, wasn't expecting it. Prenger did what he had to do. He came out, he manhandled him, roughed him up, headlocked him, threw him to the floor, knocked AJ out of his rhythm. Some say the ropes kept AJ up, should have took account. But despite all of that and everything that he got through, he regrouped, he showed the desire, grit, and an ambition of I'm not getting beat, I'm not losing this, reset whatever said in the corner, came out. Whether the kid had shot his bolt in the first round and was tired, at the same time, AJ still landed the shots, and it was very clinical and brutal in the finishing punches. And it just reminded us of AJ when he does let his hands go, like when he turned pro. He is a very dangerous puncher. But like you say, he survived a bit of drama in the first round, but regrouped, come back and got the knockout win. And what makes this now, I know people say he needs another fight. Tyson and AJ, they've been boxing for an awful long time. They're all got niggles. They're all this. It makes this fight a little bit more on the edge of the seat that anyone could land. Tyson Fury throws a brilliant uppercut. AJ throws a great right hand. It just makes the fight a little bit more edgy of seat, popcorn that anyone can go at any minute.
Joe, if he's your fighter and he's in the corner with you and this is happening, you're seeing what's happening with his chin, at what stage do you have that conversation with him about his health and about long term? Like, how far do you think he can take this? Let's say he beats Fury. What's next for him?
I think that'd be it for Fury. Obviously, there'll be always the talk of Yusuf, but now he's trained by him. That wouldn't happen. I understand that, but this is what we say with the heavyweights. One punch changes it because of the power. And like I said before, to a lot of people, to Prenger, it doesn't matter who you knock. Like they said, he had 20 wins and 15 by win. But he isn't being. But I know fighters that go the distance with journeyman. If you can punch, you can punch. It doesn't matter whether they've lost 20, they've lost 17. The kid can punch. For AJ, people saying he's punch resistance. Yeah, we'd sit down and talk about, but we were in with a puncher and we were told we were in with a puncher. We got caught, we regrouped, and we come back and we got the win. But then things need to be ironed out and why we got caught cold. And I just felt it was a little bit gun-ho the other night, AJ, and it just needs tightening up a little bit. Yeah. It's still got bad habits.
Joe, when you look at the shots that put him down, though, I mean, we've all seen him be hit by far worse shots than what he got put down by Prenger, who, with all due respect, he's not one of the elites. I mean, you've got some elite heavyweights in your gym, mate, and they give Prenger a right good go, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. But it's like what I'm saying is whether we can say that, but look at Rico, who just fought Usyk. He's like come from nowhere, but his stubbornness and his ability and his punching power kept him in the fight. You look at Francis Ngannou, who fought Tyson Fury. They're all punches, but the opportunity, any of them that land will hurt. And Prenger had an opportunity. He caught AJ cold with an uppercut, and he went down, and then he got caught with right hand. But like we say, we always talk about heavyweights can punch, and it doesn't matter whether you got 6 fights, 7 fights, or 50 fights, world level, base level. You drop your hand and leave your chin out to dry, and you get hit in it. You're going down, and that's what happened the other night with AJ. But we were all screaming, do you know what I mean? And as you said, Adam, like the shot, you could just see everyone's hands in their head and the jaws on the floor. But fair play to AJ, regrouped, the desire, the grit, the determination. He came back and he got the win. And was the fight's still on. I know people say, oh, it shouldn't happen now and shouldn't this. But, wow, Tyson Fury got dropped against Francis Ngannou, got up and won, and the same thing there as well. Do you know what I mean?
Right, listen, you're really good pals with Turkey Elshake. Is Mikey Talon going to be on AJ versus Fury? Watch how I angle this now.
I've not had that conversation yet. And if I did
and where is that going to happen, my friend?
I think at the weekend, Turk was putting a lot of posts in New York out. I don't know whether he was there or he was dropping hints, but yeah, that's $1 million question. Now, where's it going to be? I know there's an argument it should be in the UK, but I feel as boxing fans, I think we get ripped off in the UK. I think the prices of everything are extortionate. The prices of tickets, the hotels, the train fare, accommodation for 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't get a train home from the O2 after 11 o'clock midnight. How's everyone going to get home from Wembley or wherever at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? So we'll see.
Listen, I can see you're about to do a shift with the lads there in the gym, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got Fraser Clark out a week on Saturday on the show up in Leeds. I've got Billy Dennis, exciting super middleweight, on the show. And that's them 2 in August. And then we're ready for the big fights in September and October.
Mate, unbelievable, mate. And great to see you, as always, my friend. Listen, let's leave it a week or two before we see each other again.
Hey, yeah? Adam, You were twitching last night when that park and that documentary when they came over, didn't you?
So I made a
you were twitching.
Mate, listen. When a couple of lads turn up with balaclavas on, mate, you know what I mean. You've got to look after yourself a touch, haven't you?
You might have had a bit more resolve being a man there, mate. You went like a big biscuit.
I needed you to look after me, Joe. Top man. See you in a bit, pal.
Take care.
You're a top man. Listen, for those that don't know, Joe's referring to a documentary I made about the rivalry between Arsenal and Tottenham, and I was doing an interview with one of the lads from the younger end of the Arsenal firm in a park, and a lot of Tottenham lads turned up at the let's just say the wrong time. All right. And yeah, all right, there was a twitch. I thought to myself, whoa, this could get a bit tasty in a minute.
You had to go to a proctologist, did you?
Yeah, mate. Let's just say we made an exit from the park that we were in doing that interview. Anyway, that's available for you on YouTube. It's a different conversation. I knew he'd stitch me up there. Anyway, stick with us because Johnny Fisher's in the studio next. We're going to be talking about his recent move from Matchroom to Zuffa and what that means for him going forward.
It's boxing. I said it in the interview the other day. It's heavyweight boxing. He got caught by a fighter who's had 20 knockouts. Yes, albeit Prenga wasn't a hugely recognised name prior to that, but you don't get 20 knockouts, without being able to punch. And that's boxing. And the reality is, as AJ showed, it's getting back up from that and building your way back into the fight and finishing it the way he did. Did I expect that in the first round? No. But he showed his heart, his determination, and everything that's got him to this point in the sport.
Are you into boxing conspiracies?
No, I mean, is Simon Jordan under the desk somewhere?
He's on holiday this week, mate. But I've got his tweet here.
Well, yeah, you got Simon Jordan. You got the other guy.
Oh yeah, but Paulie Malignaggi was on a little earlier on as well.
Exactly.
He said a very similar thing. So basically, Simon wrote on X, I'm sure people have seen this, that he wasn't having the fight and that something was not quite right, as it was designed to rinse the maximum amount of money. Do you agree?
I mean, did he confirm any more? Has he spoken about it verbally?
I've not personally spoken to him, mate. I don't like to put words in people's mouths off the back of social media. No, I've not spoken to him about it, mate. I'm just going off what he's written on social media.
From what he's written, what he's suggesting is that the fight was in some way.
Sport. A very good afternoon. You're listening to talkSPORT here with your sports headlines. I'm Amelia Beltrao. Following Infantino's bombshell plans to sell off the World Cup, he's issued another one. Sign up in 53 days or miss out. Well, CONCACAF and the FA have released statements. They stress their concern about a lack of due process after they were only made aware of the plans via the media. UEFA will hold an emergency meeting this week to discuss those plans. Chief football correspondent for The Times, Martin Zegler, broke the story. He's told talkSPORT what this meeting might entail.
I'm pretty sure one of the things they will discuss is can they threaten to boycott the World Cup? Is that realistic? I mean, a World Cup without the European nations is obviously not going to happen.
Well, 6 of the 8 quarter-finalists were European at this summer's tournament. Now, Forest boss Oliver Glasner has been speaking exclusively to talkSPORT from their camp in Portugal. Ahead of his first season in charge, he stressed the importance of consistency.
I honestly think that Forest has done a brilliant job in the last years, and that then now it's with consistency, with going step by step forward. We want to establish in the top half of the Premier League.
talkSPORT's Max Scott caught up with club captain Ryan Yates. He says Glasner has brought new ideas to the club that he's not experienced in his entire career.
Credit to the club for, appointing a manager of such stature with a proven record, and the goal ultimately is to get back and play European football.
And in the Commonwealth Games, Aziz Abdul, the grandson of former Ugandan dictator Idi Amin, said he could become the new King of Scotland if he wins boxing gold in Glasgow. The 25-year-old super heavyweight faces England's Damar Thomas in Wednesday's quarterfinals, with victory guaranteeing at least a bronze medal, making him Uganda's first Commonwealth boxing medalist since 1990.
talkSPORT News.
The Prime Minister said his generation of politicians are to blame for not reforming social care before now. And 3 million households where everyone is of working age not working at all. Sinead has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. This summer, treat yourself to Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Cloudy across Scotland and Northern Ireland with outbreaks of rain, sometimes showery, although some brighter spells are also possible. Elsewhere, it will be dry and sunny.
Good morning. You're listening to Mid Mornings on talkSPORT. No White and Jordan this week. It's myself, Adam Catterall, with Darragh McAnthony today. And we are delighted to tell you that joining us in the studio, straight from a sunbed it looks like, my friend, is the one and only Mr. Johnny Fisher. How are you, buddy?
I'm a bit pasty for a sunbed, but good to see you, Adam. Good to see you, mate. And we were, I'm just passing through, train this morning, back to training after this, but always good to pop into talkSPORT.
So you popped in?
Yeah.
And then they just said, I'll jump on for 15. Is that what it is, mate?
Well,
is that what the crack is?
My good friend Ed is, I said, look, I'm passing by. I'm going past London Bridge. I'm going to get something to eat. But before I meet anyone to do that, let's see if Adam wants to have a chat. And, here we are.
Here we are, mate. Obviously, all gearing towards September 26th. That's the next time you're going to be out, obviously, under new promotion.
Yeah.
We've not had a conversation about it. I know you've spoken to Simon about it, but give me the thought process on it. Obviously, you've been, where are we at? We're 14-1, so we've had 15 fights under the tutelage of Matchroom to this particular point. And now we're going in a different direction with Dana White and Zuffa.
Yeah, well, I've had a brilliant time with Matchroom. Can't fault everything that's done, the way they've handled business, etc. But I just thought in this stage of my career, something new was needed. Obviously, huge financial incentive to do it, but the promotional side of it, not only going to that American market with Zuffa, but also Sky Sports. So it was like, it's a new American sort of UFC style promoter, and what these guys can offer. I went to New York a couple of weeks ago and saw what they're doing over there. But Sky Sports and being at the Copper Box again, being a headline act, that's going to be a big part for my career moving forward. I want to be in exciting nights, and we're in the first step now.
When did they approach you? How did they do it?
Yeah, so I sort of announced it to the public that I was a free agent after I'd spoke to Eddie. I went on with my friend Regan, and we done a little chat on there just to put that out there. And then within a few days of that, Zuffa made an offer. I think Frank Warren's were going to make an offer with Queensbury, but I think now where the Zone are now got this sort of banner of having Shalom, Queensbury, Matchroom. They're sort of like there's an alliance of the Zone versus Zuffa and this new force that's coming in. So Zuffa made a fantastic offer, the promotional side of it and everything with Sky Sports, a financial side of it. So
how many fights?
It's a one-fight deal.
Okay.
And people are like, well, why would you only sign a one-fight deal? But I don't ever look, whenever I've looked beyond having one fight, that's when things go wrong. Why would you do that? Sure. If I don't win the next fight, then the whole landscape changes anyway.
How does that work? So it's a one-fight deal with what? Matching rights off the back of it? Is that what it is? Because from a business point of view, if you're Zuffa and you're signing you as a young man coming through, and obviously you would be able to sell tickets for him in the UK, you'd be able to put eyeballs on them in the UK, given the audience that you've got. They're signing you for one fight. Obviously, there's a lot of dough in there as well. There's got to be an upside for them on the back end of that. So I assume there is. Once you've had this one fight, there's matching rights going forward.
That's actually an interesting question because I don't actually know, if I'm being honest, if there's matching rights or not. So hopefully Adam, my manager, has taken care of that. But I would assume if I win this fight, they've got something in place there. And if I do win this fight, I probably would stay and sign a new deal with Zuffa because they've come in and offered me this money, and then we'll go and do next fight and next fight. But
so you're motivated.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
almost like
motivated.
audition,
Yeah.
you're motivated
It's
to
almost like you win this fight, and then there's a bigger apple tree at the end of that. Like that's the way I want to do it. But that's a. I'm sure they would have some sort of matching rights clause in there.
And Eddie, you told Eddie, didn't you, what the deal was? And he was fair about it all?
I went to Matchroom, went to the offices, spoke to him. We had a frank discussion. Then I spoke to Barry before the announcement was going to happen, because I went the whole way through talking to Eddie, but I didn't really talk to Barry about it. But at the end of it, when it was all done, before we announced it, he said, "John, you've completely got my blessing. The way it's been handled has been correct. So you can't ask for more than that."
It's a murky industry, so to do it the right way, so you keep relationships open, right?
It's hard to say what the right way and what the wrong way is in this game, because you don't know who's talking to who or what's going on there. But if you can be honest with yourself and try and do it in the most upfront way, there's no right or wrong answer. The only way you can do it is what's best by you.
Yeah,
and be honest with everyone else.
Absolutely. Ultimately, you're all yourself. The best opportunities, but there is a way about going about doing your business, of which you've done obviously right. Now, what are the goals, dreams, and ambitions? Because Zuffa have a very different way of thinking about the landscape of boxing. Obviously, there is a traditional way where you're aiming for various titles that are owned by sanctioning bodies and various things like that. Zuffa are not backwards in coming forwards in saying that is not their plan ultimately going forwards, but they will work with fighters if they have those dreams. So what is the conversation that you've had, and what are the goals, dreams, and aspirations when it comes to legacy fighting?
Well, my sort of longer term ambitions or my goals as a professional boxer is always to win the British title, of course. And obviously they've not been backwards in saying that they want to do away with other governing bodies and things like that. But to be honest, Adam, in the position that I'm in right now, the British title isn't the thing that I'm thinking about in the most immediate next move. It's about headlining again in the UK in the Copper Box. I've not won at the Copper Box or the UK for 2 years now, so that's going to be an important move.
Did you just call it the Copper Box? You don't call it the Copper Box.
Yeah, sorry, I've got to be.
Come on, man, you've rebranded it.
The correct linguistics when I'm on top. But, I want to make sure that I'm back to winning ways in the United Kingdom in front of my fans, and I don't want to think about British titles before I'm there. I mean, we was offered the TKV fight. That was all going to happen. The British title, that's a fight where I thought, I've got a good 40, 50, 60% chance of winning that fight. Then there was another fight offered for me for that after it had all fallen through. I didn't think that was the right time with Reactpor. And I'm not in the business of getting too far ahead of myself now. I know what I am. I'm exciting. I'm under the tutelage of Tony Sims, and them improvements will happen and take shape in the process that they're meant to happen. So British title is still very much on my radar, and I wouldn't be afraid in having that frank conversation with Zuffa, because I've had frank conversations with Matchroom in the past, and I'll always be honest in that way.
How's it started with Dana? Because I know that you took him out for a Chinese in New York last week, didn't you?
Yeah, we went to where he was staying, his hotel. We waited about for a little bit, and we was a bit like, he's been out all day doing questions and talking about things that are far more important than us. We don't want to eat up too much of his time, but he warmed into it, he enjoyed it, and I didn't understand. I didn't see if he understood the banter at first, because Americans don't normally get it, but he warmed into it and he understood us a little bit, and he loves food like us. So he actually recommended a really good steak restaurant to us, Benjamin Prime. So we went there afterwards and went straight from a Chinese to have a slap-up steak dinner.
Are you taking him to the Blue Orchid when he comes over for the Copper Bosch?
He said that he wants to come over to the Blue Orchid, so he'll see how a Chinese is properly done over here.
Have you seen how his dad does the proper Chinese?
Me and my wife live in America, and the one thing we miss is Chinese food from the UK.
Yeah.
When we come to the UK, we probably have like 10 Chineses in a month.
Yeah.
Because in America, it sucks. Like the version of Chinese food over there is nothing like Chinese.
Everyone's got their own versions.
You've seen
when
that,
we go
right?
to Australia, their Chinese is like, what are you doing over here? What our Chinese is very much comfort food, loads of carbs, loads of beiges.
I said to the chef of our Chinese, I'd invest in them opening a restaurant in the States. Do you know what I mean? Whatever else
but there's certain, when you go away, you do miss your foods, like you're getting it, like your calves, your pie mashes, your Blue Orchids, just your fish and chips. But
you're an athlete.
I know.
What is all this?
I can still dream about it. Me and Craig Richards were talking about this. We was talking about ribs and barbecue food.
Cheat meal.
Yeah, like we can still dream about it. I'll send Jimmy Sains a little picture of these nice pork sausages that were sent. We can't eat them, but still nice to dream at them.
How many months can you eat normally a year?
I think after a fight you can have a couple of weeks blowout. And
he has it in the changing room, mate. He brings his Chinese into the changing room.
After the fight, have a chicken ball. But when you're in camp, I'm a heavyweight, so I can eat an abundance.
You can get away with some
I can eat an abundance of food, but you want to make sure you're eating quality food. Like these guys, I feel sorry for them who are like on 400 calories for a meal and things like that. At least I can go home and have eat a plate of pasta and then have a plate of noodles and have a plate of steak afterwards, you know.
Would you base yourself in the States if you had to train wise? And
I've been over the States. I've actually done a training camp in Vegas before.
Did you?
And that talking about food there, that was quite difficult to stay on track of eating healthy because obviously being in the desert, there's a lack of fresh food. So using that UFC PI gym over there where the food is top quality is really important.
The obviously you're in the heavyweight division, mate. What did you make of AJ's performance at the weekend?
It was he looked vulnerable in the first round, of course. We saw that, but he hung tough and got him out there in the second round. And now I was actually talking to someone else about this the other day. Like, you've had Fury's fight the night before where people probably thinking, Marius Wack 46, 47, but he's come through unscathed and just got his run out. AJ's had to go in front of a big crowd in the Ring magazine, a bigger audience, and there is pressure with that. Obviously, what he's come through with the loss of two of his close friends, there's a lot weighing on that man, and he's come through it, and hopefully now we're closer to seeing it. But Prenger, what was he, 20-1?
Yeah.
You can't overlook anyone in the heavyweight division, and now he will have opportunities open up for him as well. And then we'll see how good he is when he fights someone else or someone of a different level.
Has it changed your appetite towards the actual Fury AJ fight, or are you still there?
I'm still there, but I'm forever the pessimist when it comes to boxing. Things aren't done until you see that fight poster. I've seen Eddie talking about, well, if it's not in the UK, we're not going to do it. But Dana's saying one thing, Turkey's saying another thing. I'm a pessimist when it comes to these things until it's been announced.
Until you're in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Boxing's a strange old game.
Well, the man that normally holds position here on talkSPORT, Mr. Jordan, was doing the Talk Boxing show yesterday, and he was discussing the tweet that he put out following Anthony Joshua's victory, where he was suggesting that he thought that there was something amiss. This is what he had to say yesterday in response to that tweet.
Well, I thought there were some interesting observations in there. Obviously, Barry is getting a bit decrepit, so I allow him to have a senior moment and make his observations that way. But also, Frank's obviously busy coming back from running errands, so he has opinion too. But I also think that they are right. When I first looked at the fight, Spence and Paul, and obviously Richard, my first reaction after the first round was not surprised, as Richard wasn't. I wasn't surprised by what was happening to Anthony. And then I saw the second round, and I saw Prenger come out and do the polar opposite of what he had done in the first round that got all the success, and it didn't make sense to him, and he didn't seem to be throwing anything. So my first reaction was, I don't like the look of this, I don't like the smell of this. But the more I look at the fight back, and the more I listen to the corner work that was done with Prenger, and the more that I've spoken to a few people, trainers that talked about what Prenger should have done, what grade of fighter he is, and what they expected in terms of the second round, take it easy, you know, have a look at him first before you jump on him. It kind of takes me into the pathway that maybe I was a bit previous about the idea that there was something amiss in this fight.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Obviously, from the initial
bit of a U-turn.
beep, 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 beep.
Come on, Simon.
From the initial reaction to obviously taking in more data, and obviously that listening to the way that the corner instructs him, I think the corner got that wrong.
Yeah, I do as well. I looked at the clip yesterday of the corner, and it's not only an experience of Prenger, it's of that corner team.
Of course.
Being in that fight, you're fighting a two-time world champion. It's not actually that displausible to say, right, take your foot off the gas a little bit, be careful now. That's advice you can give, but obviously the wrong advice. The way that I box, the way that I would see it would be go in there and just throw a hammer and tonk. Yeah, this is your chance now.
His legs, jump on
but
him.
he did take a step back, and probably the wrong advice, but I can see it doesn't stink, it doesn't smell, it's just they've given him the wrong advice.
When are we going to hear who you're going to be up against on the 26th?
So we've actually got a couple of opponents lined up. Hopefully by the end of this week, there's a guy 17-1, so similar sort of level to Prenger's guy, like the guy Joshua fought in Prenger. So I think it'll be a good matchup. Zuffa know what level I'm at and sort of what sort of fighter I should be in with. So it's going to be a good match.
Does it feel like a fresh start? Does it feel fresh?
Yeah, it does, and I think every now and then you need that little rejuvenation. Not that I was going stale with Matchroom because they took me to some amazing places, Monaco, Saudi, Vegas, but it's nice to be. I've got to prove myself to a new audience now. Yeah. In Zuffa with Dana White, and they might not know that much about me and how I fought. They know that I can sell tickets, and we've got a big crowd, but there's an appetite there. I've got a new trainer, relatively new, just coming up to a year, and I'm excited to show people that there's a new version.
Is the money
upgraded version
different?
It is different. Is
it double? Is it 20%?
It's more than double.
It's more than double what you were on before.
It's about 6 or 7 times more for this sort of fight, not a title fight sort of thing, but yeah. So that's why, in a way, with Eddie and Barry, you get there. They understand it because they're business people as well, and as much as they're friends, this is still a business. And if another fighter came along for them that they wanted to promote ahead of me, that's no problem, because that's the name of the game they're in, and I've got to look after me. They've got.
When you were on like the Saudi card or whatever else, what did you get? 50 grand, 100 grand?
No, more than that.
200 grand?
Yeah, more than that, but
300?
No, less than that.
About 250. So now the next question. What do you end up with?
What do I end up with? That's the problem.
You get 250. What do you end up with?
You got managers, you got promoters.
Give me the figure.
I can't tell you the figure.
150.
How much do you get for this?
150. Let me tell you, 5 times more. I own a football club.
That's a fact.
I'm just doing this for fun.
You're doing it for
so 250 you get. Do you get about 150 for yourself or less?
It's
less.
I mean, you talk about tax.
Agents, managers, everything.
Agent, managers. Yeah.
You're paying probably 40% out in
sparring partners, physio, any injuries, any scans.
And I presume they give you a long itemised list like 6 months later.
Yeah.
You think you've got X amount, and then you look at this list.
No, you get paid.
They've charged for the bacon. They've charged.
I can never moan about Matchroom.
Yep.
For paying on time. They always pay within a week. They're the best in the game.
But the itemised list would come later.
No, there's no itemised list. They
just tell you a figure.
They tell you the figure. Like, if you fight on a Saudi show or a ring show, Matchroom will take a skim off the top of that. So because it's not their card, it's it's not a Matchroom card. But I can't moan at the money I've earned in boxing, because there's people who are fighting 4s and 6 rounders in York Hall and even world titles or European and British titles who are at a much higher level than me, who are really, really talented fighters. So I'm very grateful for the position I'm in, but I also know my value, because I can sell out a Copper Box Arena or a Copper Bosch Arena. I can go to Wembley, I can go and pack out a big part of the O2. So I recognise my business value. So
you're worth more than 250.
Yeah, I'm worth more than 250, definitely.
500?
Yeah, more than that. Depends who is fighting. That depends on the opponent.
We get that figure out.
This conversation is going to continue once the microphones go down. Listen, it's a wonderful opportunity, like you said. The platform of Sky Sports is absolutely gigantic in this country for you, and not only that, in the United States, where they are actually concentrating a lot of the business do for the Paramount Plus deals, absolutely huge.
We've also got a TV programme with us on Paramount Plus.
I was just about to say, how's that going? Just to finish off, how's that going? When's that out, by the way?
Hopefully October. And the guys filming it with us, they're great guys, but it's hard. I'm glad it's not being filmed at my house, because it's like not an invasion of privacy, but they're always there and they're doing stuff, and it's like if I can escape.
How many are there on scene? How many in the typical?
Sometimes there's 7 or 8 of them there, but they're all good guys. We get on with them really well. But like if it was my house and I just want to relax and go home, I don't want to see a load of cameras in my face, and it gets on my mum and dad's nerves sometimes. But what helps is they're great people, Paramount, objective,
understanding,
great people. But we've had enough now. Give us a break.
Listen, I'm sure the Bosch Army are thinking to themselves, a little trip to America, a little Vegas trip.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That's the next one, isn't it?
Oh, that'd be great. Over to Vegas.
Listen, I'll let you go and have your lunch now, mate. Thank you very much. Good
luck with it, bro.
Thanks for dipping in. Do stick with us. You're listening to talkSPORT.
Up and said you got 10 players better than John Stones.
No, but I said all time. I didn't say Prem, but let's stick to Prem. All right, let's do this.
Go on.
Virgil van Dijk, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Vincent Kompany.
Yeah, that's five.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we going Tony Adams?
Oh yeah.
No,
you're not gonna say.
No, but go on.
I would.
Campbell.
I'd do Sol Campbell, defo.
And I'm a Tottenham
Sol
fan.
Campbell, come on, JB.
Keep going.
I'm going Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
Gary Pallister.
Carvalho.
Mate, come on.
Carvalho.
Don't help him. Why are you helping him? Carvalho's not better than John Stones.
Carvalho. Ricardo Carvalho.
Jamie, hear me out.
Give me a break, man.
On his day, prime to prime, 1 game for a final, Ledley King.
Yeah, Ledley King. What, you telling me Ledley King? Oh, come on, Jamie.
Listen, Jamie, not the career, but for 1 game in his prime.
I watched John Stones playing the Champions League final.
I know he was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable. So don't. Let's,
I hear it, but
like,
you know
come
what
on.
I think? Yeah? I heard.
Can't we put
Warren
Ledley
added
King
earlier.
above John Stones? He's won 6 Premier League titles.
Phil Jagielka, mate. Phil Jagielka.
Coley, shut up, mate. Come on.
I mean, mate, Jamie.
Julian Lescott.
I would go as far as to say if Jan Vertonghen and Alderweireld played in that City team, they might have won the same honours.
Gary Cahill.
They would have won the same honours.
Sun is shining, so make sure you grab a pint of So Good Lager. I haven't heard of this. I need to get on it. It's all from talkSPORT, and meantime, it's available in all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports bars across the country. Find out where your nearest pub is at talksport.com/sogood. You've got to be over 18. Always drink responsibly. I know that the summer can obviously tip you over the edge and get you going a little bit, but make sure you look after yourself. Before we talk Nottingham Forest, let's get a bit of Commonwealth Games information from John Cushing. John, what's going on, mate?
Yeah, I'll bring you some boxing news in a moment, but it's all going to plan so far. The words of Josh Kerr talking to me after his win in the heats of the Commonwealth Mile here at the Scotstoun Stadium. The Scottish world record holder told us he'd break that record in London. He did. The Olympic also told us he wants the Commonwealth gold. We'll find out on Saturday whether he can do that. It hasn't quite gone to plan for Duncan Scott. The Scott, of course, who also is the face of these games like Josh Kerr, the Commonwealth gold medalist from earlier this week, didn't reach the final of the men's 200-metre freestyle. He's the British champion in that. So tonight in the pool, it's 2 from England, Tom Dean and James Guy, 2 Aussies, 2 Kiwis, Northern Ireland's Jack McMillan, and Wales silver medalist from last night, Matt Richards. Now, the penultimate event of the women's heptathlon, javelin, is underway, and Kate O'Connor of Northern Ireland, she still leads Jade O'Dowda after the long jump by 84 points, but she's just thrown a Commonwealth Games best ever in the heptathlon, in the javelin, 52.85, a huge roar from this really good morning crowd at Scotstoun, a season's best for Jade as well, so a good morning for the heptathletes. And Zarnell Hughes said he needed to run fast, but not too fast, in the first round of the men's 200 metres. Unusually for these championships, the top 17 qualify for the semis on time only, rather than positions in races. He should get through to the semis. I mentioned some boxing, some 18 home nation boxers in action on day 6 in the quarterfinals. If they win, they're guaranteed a medal. 2022 women's featherweight gold medalist Michaela Walsh, in her 4th games, faces Lara Brown in the next 20 minutes of Scotland. Unfortunately, Niamh Brooks, the flyweight, is out already for Wales. Don't forget, there are tickets at Glasgow2026.com, still some available. This is the Commonwealth Games. It's live across the talkSPORT network.
John, top man, thanks for the update on the boxing as well, mate. I know you did that just purely for me. You're a good man. Right, let's get a little bit of information from Oliver Glasden, because he's been talking to talkSPORT a little earlier on this morning. The Nottingham Forest boss on tour. I don't know if you've seen Max Scott. He's part of this. He's going to be doing the pre-season a little bit later on, his Max, because I keep an eye across all that. He's been talking about his hopes and ambitions for the season ahead for Nottingham Forest.
Step number 1 has to be to get consistency into the club, and this is after a very difficult last year. I don't know the reasons, and it's also it's the past. Like the 2 stars, it's the past. So I think you can't rely that you won European trophies in the 70s and 1980s. It's so long ago. I think none of our players has been born at that time. So we have to write our own book. We have to write our own history. And number 1 is getting consistency into this club, and then building on a very good basement and going step by step forward. Also, everybody has to accept that it's just the 5th season in the Premier League for Nottingham Forest after, I think, around 20 years in League One and the Championship. So I honestly think that Forest has done a brilliant job in the last years, and that then now it's with consistency, with going step by step forward. We want to establish in the top half of the Premier League, but we all know how challenging and how competitive the Premier League is.
Listen, time's going to tell, but I think Forest have absolutely landed a worldie there.
He is elite. He's also high maintenance, and I thought he behaved
on
like
all the elite.
He behaved like a spoiled brat last year, I thought, but all's well that ends well. And Palace obviously, didn't let him go, made him see out his contract. Good move by Parish, and they won a trophy, another one. And what he does is bring trophies, and I'm surprised. But you know what? That's the ambition of the Forest owner. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but boy does he spend money, and boy does he land some big targets and big people, and that's going to be really interesting this year. Nottingham Forest, because they will spend money. They're already spending money.
Yeah.
And
realistic top half, what he's talking about?
I would say Marinakis wouldn't be happy if they're not in the top 7 this year. Like, I can imagine, and that's where that could go the other way.
Okay.
Where you've got Glasner, obviously, we know can be temperamental when it comes to dealing with the press and dealing with the hierarchy of clubs. We saw that with what he was like with Palace.
Yeah.
And we know Marinakis won't settle for any nonsense. So if that had been reversed last year, he'd have probably been bounced. If Marinakis, say, was in charge of Palace when he was coming out with all that stuff. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm sure Marinakis...
No, I think you might be right.
Marinakis would have just gone, yeah, listen, I ain't dealing with your nonsense, you're gone. So I think it's going to be a dream ticket. I don't know how long it will last, but what I like is the ambition of Marinakis to go out and get, probably one of the best managers that was available.
Forest fans, get in contact with the show. 03717 223344. What are you anticipating for the new season? You must be absolutely delighted that it's Glasner in charge of the club. And of course, how do you think Max Scott's going to get on with pre-season training? I don't know how he's done this. He's blagged himself on the pre-season training. Out in Portugal, of all places as well. He's having a whale of a time, but he's got to do a bleep test. That's kind of the caveat. I'm sure he can have a few beers later on, but the bleep test has got to come first. Anyway, let us know how you think he's going to get stuck into the show.
Chaps, how are you?
We're good, man. How you doing today? You all right? Well?
I'm all right. Goldstein, are you on a wind-up with this Kane to Chelsea thing?
Well, no. I never said it. I asked the question.
Yeah, you done it on purpose, so I'd ring up, didn't you?
Sol Campbell went to Arsenal, didn't he?
No, I knew you was going to come
Tevez
up
went
with
to Man
that.
City. It happens. Definitely happens.
Listen. Kane is proper Tottenham. Don't you know that? Don't you know that?
I know he's proper Tottenham. I know that. I don't think he would do that.
Of course he wouldn't. So why are you talking about it and winding me up
Jeff,
for?
Let me ask you this. Jeff.
I've been working all night on a night shift, right? I'm going home, right? I was all chilled out and relaxed, looking forward to going home.
Now you're all bitter and twisted.
Sorry, Jeff. Sorry.
And now I've switched, right? And now you're winding me up with this. I'll tell you what, if Kane goes to Chelsea, I'll do anything you say. Anything you want.
Well, that sounds weird.
Anything.
I mean, I would...
No.
There's nothing I would say.
No, if you want me to put an Arsenal shirt on the one down Tottenham High Road, I'll do it, right? I'm proper Tottenham. I was born in Park Lane behind the ground, right? From a baby till I was 17, right? My boy works there as a development coach, and I've worked there on and off, right, in different capacities. I'm telling you now, I don't even know why you even bother wasting time talking about this subject.
If he goes to Chelsea, we get a Chelsea tattoo. We get a Chelsea tattoo if he goes.
Oh, that's a good shout.
You will?
Yes.
talkSPORT News.
Good afternoon. With your headlines, I'm Sinead Garvan. The Prime Minister's vowing to tackle social care. Andy Burnham wants to reform workers' pay and training and have all parties working together on it. He says previous politicians have failed on the issue.
it's a major dereliction of public duty that Parliament has not faced up to this, of all challenges, something so fundamental.
A man who murdered his wife had been charged with assaulting her weeks before he killed her. 35-year-old Stacey Mare's body was discovered in a house in Renfrewshire on Monday morning. Her husband, Jim, was also found dead. Temperatures could reach at least 33 degrees in parts of Essex and Cambridgeshire later. The forecast is even hotter in Spain and France. Paris correspondent at The Times, David Chazan, says 9 out of 10 fires are started by people.
Either deliberately by arsonists or just by carelessness. People throwing cigarette ends away that are still burning.
And the amount of people over 90 has hit 580,000 in England in 2025. Latest figures show that's an increase of more than 17,000 from the year before.
Talk Sport Sports Headlines with Bostik. For professional grade sealants with easy application and a perfect finish, pros trust Bostik.
Agree to World Cup sale plan or miss extra funding, says Infantino. And Oliver Glasner stresses the importance of consistency for the next season. Amelia's back at 1.
Good morning. You listen to talkSPORT. It is mid-mornings. It's normally White and Jordan, but this week it's Adam Catterall and Darragh McAnthony alongside me today. And we're going to turn our attention now to this report that's come out from Kick It Out, who have Kick It Out have received 25% rise in reports of discrimination. To talk about that and how we make improvements to the game of football regarding acts of discrimination. I'm delighted to say that the CEO of Kick It Out, Sam Akafor, very kindly has given up a bit of time to come and join us. Sam, how are you, mate? You well?
Very well, thank you. Good afternoon to you both.
Hey, Sam.
Thanks for your time, buddy. Now then, obviously, 25% rise in reports of discrimination. The numbers are going up and up and up. What do you think the reason is for the increase in these numbers?
Yeah, thanks. Look, I think there are a number of factors that play into the increase that we've seen, not just this year, but also across the years that we have been reporting in. So when I think about confidence to report, I think there's a growing confidence to report. The work that we and other organisations have done in raising awareness of discrimination and our reporting services has been strong. And I think what we're now seeing is that we're now seeing fans, we're seeing players, we're seeing participants in the game having the courage and the confidence to report. I think if you recall back the first game of the season with Anton Semenyo, and when he faced racial abuse in stadium, he had the courage and the conviction to report there and then, which is great. We've seen that throughout the season. More players are standing up and reporting, more fans are reporting as well. And we see this as a positive thing, because I think that's the first step in trying to tackle and trying to drive the change that we all want. I also think the political landscape that we're operating in clearly is impacting the reports that we're seeing, the divisive political rhetoric that we've seen, the language we've seen from leaders across football, in Parliament and so on, is clearly not creating community cohesion, but rather creating community division. And I think those are some of the factors that play into the reports, increasing reports that we're seeing.
Regarding sanctions, obviously we want the toughest of sanctions, mate. So what are the toughest sanctions that can be taken when we're talking about discrimination in football?
Well, I think from a player perspective, I think we've seen where players have been discriminatory towards other players. I think there has to be tougher sanctions there because that's important. You know, if players choose to discriminate against each other, then they need to set a standard. So I think we should expect tougher sanctions, and I think the FA will put out something hopefully in the next few weeks.
What would you like to see?
Well, I think it's got to be longer bans. They've got to be longer bans. I think whether that's and financial sanctions as well as longer bans. I think we've got to see that from a player perspective, and I think from a fan perspective, we've already got those fans receive football banning orders. I think that's the right thing for them to receive. So I think there has to be a message that says that if you choose to be a player or you choose to be a fan and you want to discriminate against people, that it does come with consequences, like most things in life do.
Listen, you spoke about this in the past, Darragh, regarding the policing of this. Obviously, we're speaking there with Sam about on-pitch situations there where referees and officials are obviously on top of that, fingers crossed, and sanctions coming off the back of that from the police associations. But in stadium as well, that's a difficult thing as well. Do we need to spend more money on the policing in order to be able to keep on top of it?
Look, I don't have a wand, for the answer. I don't think Sam does either. I think these kind of reports, the data, are important because the challenge you're dealing with. You can see what's on the rise. You can see the growth in the different ones. And now you got to tackle these issues. And you don't just tackle them with banning and locking people and doing all that. Now you got to dig deep into the education and the reason people are like this and the reason people grow up to be like this and all those things behind the scenes. So I'm not sure if it's about more money into policing. We have stewards at every game. We spend £500,000 a year on stewards and security at games. And everyone knows if you see something, say something, and you go to the steward and they deal with it and there's an investigation, because the other side of it as well is always a he said, she said. Well, they said something. Well, of course. The evidence, so it has to be investigated. So I'd like to ask Sam, what are the 5, if he had a wish list for the 5 most aggressive things he could change about it all, that he thinks could make a dent in this data, what would you do, Sam? Give me 3.
Look, I think reporting is going to be really key. Continuing to build confidence in reporting, that work that we and others have started, that's really important, that we continue to build that confidence in reporting. I think the second thing is what happens when people report it. We've got to see the case is investigated fully. I think that's really important, and clear outcomes as to, I don't just want to report, I actually want to know what happened as a result of that reporting. That's really important. I think there has to be tougher sanctions in place, so that if you're a player, you're a fan, you're a spectator, and you come and discriminate, you've got to know there's going to be consequences to your action. And then the point you just made, which I totally agree with, which is around education. We've got to have proactive education, but also reactive education. Proactive education to fans, to players, around discrimination, understanding the use of language, terminologies and so on. And then I think, for those people who are banned, I don't think you can ban your way out of discrimination. I think, you've got to run programs like what we do, which is our fan education program, which is a brilliant program, which takes on those fans that have been banned from football, banned from stadiums, and we help them to see the impact of their behaviour. And, the reoffending rate of that program is phenomenal, 1.25% reoffending rate. And that's really strong if you compare that to the wider society reoffending rate. So I think the education piece that you spoke about, both proactive and reactive, is going to be really key as well.
Sam, obviously your thought processes and concentrations are on the actual game of football, and listen, we're all in on that, but you highlighted this right at the start here, the noise and narratives that are created on a wider political scale obviously affect this too. Is that maybe where the education should go? Because this isn't necessarily just a football problem, is it? This is a wider society thing. So therefore, is that where the money needs to be spent, on a wider society thing, in order to educate from the grass upwards? And therefore, these type of habits and this type of conversation becomes diluted down the years and hopefully eradicated.
I think so. I think it's both. I think if you take the millions of people that participate in football, we know that if you can actually have a dent in football, if you can make a difference in football, it can have a huge impact on the broader society. So I think it's both. I think the language that we've seen from senior people in football, senior people in political powers of influence, they need to also, have the education around how their language is impacting the broader society and causing community division as opposed to community cohesion. So that's critical.
I don't know how you two felt about it, but I know that it caused a little bit of a stir at the time. Players getting sent off for covering their mouths when they were talking at the World Cup and all that type of stuff. You thought it was just ridiculous. But Is that not... Why are you covering your mouth?
Ridiculous.
Why are you covering your mouth?
Because, you know, a lot of... you see that... It's not just in football, by the way. You see that with, like, famous people, you know, out the street, whatever else. There's so many lip readers nowadays. AI can pick up on what people say. You might be next to your mate you haven't seen for ages, and you're saying, how's the missus? Did you have a good night last night? What did you do? And you whatever. Not everything's... I get what you're trying to allude to. Yeah. They could be saying something racist or whatever else. I just thought sending people off, because it's a habit now. So now you got players like Cucurella, and you got Messi acting like a little coward trying to get him sent off in the World Cup final. I don't want to see that.
No, I don't want to see that either. But why cover your mouth in the first place?
Was it against the law to cover your mouth?
No, but what in this...
You're trying to ban it.
In this particular scenario...
You're trying to make it a... You know what I mean? Like, it can't happen, but...
I'm trying to ban racism.
What, by stopping people covering their mouth?
Well, why cover your mouth if you've got nothing to hide?
How's that going to stop racism?
No, I'm not saying it's going to stop, but it's going to help, isn't it?
Is it? How's it going to help?
Is it not?
I don't think so. How's it going to help? Because I can say something to you.
Yeah.
Someone will say, he's just called me such and such name. Well, okay, who heard it? Did the ref hear it? Did someone else hear it? Then it's a he said, she said. Hand over mouth. I don't understand. How's stopping someone covering their mouth?
Why are you covering your mouth, though?
Going to stop... I don't want the rest of the world to hear.
Okay.
Why is that a problem?
Sam, what do you think?
Well, look, you know, if you're having a decent conversation, you know, you don't want the world to know, then great, cover your mouth, that's fine. If you're choosing to cover your mouth and be discriminatory, there's just no place for that at all. Yeah. So, you know, for me, it's, you know, I'm of the view that, you know, don't cover your mouth.
Yeah, I don't see that as a big a deal. I mean, let me ask you a question, Sam, more, you know, importantly, because again, it's about, I'm a solutions guy. Bring me solutions, not problems. So I read stuff like this and data, and I'm like, right, where are the solutions? I don't see enough solutions. So did you do any study on the World Cup, for example? I think the World Cup was pretty successful on that front.
Yeah.
Mass report.
Regarding segregation of fans, and everybody was in it together.
Racism, all the stuff. I didn't see a lot coming out about a lot of racism during the World Cup, or chants or issues, or there were a lot of like fans from different nations next to each other.
Yeah.
Sam, did you guys spend any time on that, or any money looking into that, or what American sports franchises do?
Yeah, look, I think with the World Cup, I think there are a number of things. I think it's interesting you say you didn't see any racism. If you look at the online abuse, there was, you know, I think one of the reports shows a 13-fold increase in online discrimination of racism towards players. If you look at some of the fans' experience, it was brilliant, but some of the fans' experience weren't so great. So actually, it depends where you're getting your analysis from. But, you know, from a World Cup perspective, it brought the best, but it also brought the worst of society as well. So I think there was a mixed views in terms of what we saw in the World Cup. Just to your point around solutions, I think the way we look at reports, I think we need to view it as people are having the confidence to report discrimination. That for me is a really positive thing. Because like many years ago, you never had the level of report you saw because there wasn't the mechanisms for people to report. Today, you've got the mechanisms and people are having the courage and the conviction to report. That's progress. You're seeing players starting to report, like Anton Semenyo is an example. Yeah. You're seeing players starting to speak more about it. That is progress, right? Because, you know, if people aren't speaking about it, aren't reporting, then you don't make progress. You also need education to the point that we've spoken about. You also need consequences and sanctions to the point we've spoken about. These are all interventions. I'm not saying they are the interventions that solves the whole puzzle, but these are positive interventions that we're making to drive the change that we all want to see.
Top man, Sam. Perfect. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, mate.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sam.
There you go. Sam Akafor, the CEO of Kick It Out. I'm going to cover my mouth now because I don't want you to. I don't want you to hear what I'm about to say.
It's amazing that people are like,
I don't want you to know. I don't want you to know.
Can you hear what I'm saying?
Do stick with us. You're listening to talkSPORT. It's mid-mornings.
Tuchel, what he said. He's a key player for us, whether as a starter or as a substitute. The word substitute would even be uttered about Virgil van Dijk. Imagine someone saying that to Virgil van Dijk, even at 40.
No, I think
be a substitute.
No. You're massively cherry picking.
I'm not saying. No. Sorry, they just played the clip. No. They just played the package, and it was Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, saying he's a key player for us, whether as a starter or a substitute.
This is appalling from you. This is the very definition. You know when Donald Trump's moaning about fake news, it's you.
Sorry, I just basically quoted what the England manager said.
Okay. How important is context? The reason that he spoke like that is because he was accused of taking an injured player to a tournament. So the reason that he said he's going to be a key player for us, whether he's a substitute or whether he's a starter, is because it was suggested that you shouldn't take a player who has had an injury-ravaged season.
Oh, no.
So therefore,
injury-ravaged career.
Injury-ravaged career, fine. But the reason that he was talking about being a substitute...
I feel bad here because you're about to make me bury John Stones, and I don't want to. I think John Stones is a fantastic human being, fantastic defender.
You're not going to bury him.
Maybe England's greatest defender... Maybe it's 50, 60 years.
He's England's greatest defender since Bobby Moore. Of course he is. He's England's greatest defender. If you look at what he's done on an...
Big statement.
Hang on, can we just talk about John's
statement?
Addy.
This is...
There's a moral victory for me in this debate already.
You're saying, look what he's done, because you're going to say Gareth Southgate went to the semi-final, went to the final of the Euros. That's not him. No, that's the team. No, but that's not him personally.
Good morning. It is talkSPORT. I'm Adam Catterall Darragh McAnthony at the Peterborough Owner is alongside me. And to finish off the programme, we're going to talk a little bit about VAR. This isn't something that you've got to be concerned about at Peterborough. Yeah, I know.
There's the dig for the EFL. You just like...
No, mate, I'm a Blackburn fan. I love it. It's one of the beautiful things about being a Blackburn fan is that all I've got to do is look to the linesman. If his flag's down, I can celebrate the goal.
You've goal line technology as well in the champ.
Yeah.
We don't have that in the lower leagues.
Yeah.
We can't afford it.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with goal line technology. If the ball's in the back of the net, then sound.
I love goal line technology. We just don't have it.
Yeah.
So, and VAR, by the way, I'm okay with.
Are you?
Look, my biggest complaint, I said it last week in the show, VAR should be 90 seconds. Referee makes a decision. There's 90 seconds to view it, check it. And if within 90 seconds, the two guys in the studio... can't basically make their mind up or do whatever, it goes with the referee's decision. That's for me the biggest problem with VAR, the amount of time it takes.
Well, listen, check this out, right? VAR to only be used for blatant errors. I thought that's what it was there for in the original circumstance.
Well, like the Egypt goal, go back 90 yards and see the blatant error. What ridiculous.
Right, video assistant referees should only be used to change blatant incorrect decisions and clear missed incidents, say refereeing officials. Right, okay, well, what's different here? Chief refereeing officers from 55 European National Football Associations met last week with the UEFA refereeing officials and a representative from International Football Association Board to address recent changes to the game's laws. UEFA said that at its recent meeting that referee bosses agreed to return to those original aims from 2018. Why is it all changed? Why are we overthinking it? Why... Oh, did you just say that you're a fan of VAR?
I'm okay with VAR, yeah.
So what do we need?
Why is that hard to believe?
No. What do we need then to make it better and a more fan experience? Are you just talking about a time constraint?
No, we need to stop extending it to everything. We're now bringing in basically about looking for corners. Is a corner not a corner? I'm for speeding up the game. Quick throw-ins, quick subs, goalies not going down, all that stuff that they're now doing. I love all these new changes, and we're doing them in pre-season. VAR for me is very simple. The referee is the chief. Okay, VAR can check on the referee's decision for 90 seconds and those, offside, penalty, whatever, sending off the second yellow card I'm all for. But within 90 seconds, if they can't find anything wrong,
because that'll come on the
referee decision.
That'll come on the blatant.
Yes, then it goes. You go with the referee. I'm sorry, and they put a buzzer. So all the fans... No, seriously.
Love it.
No,
Full
listen.
Simon Cowell on this thing, mate. That's what we do.
No, listen. You're a fan sat in the stadium. You're sat there for 3 minutes in silence waiting, and you're basically biting your nails, and you've just scored a goal. And how many times have we seen the joy taken away? Now you're going to see the clock. The clock's got 90 seconds in the corner. The minute that reaches 0, if the ref hasn't heard from VAR, he blows his whistle and gets on with his decision.
Would you want VAR in the EFL?
Yeah.
You would want it in the EFL?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think
Does it not take away from the fan experience?
Of course those things hurt the game, but you've got to come and see the refereeing at our level sometimes. You've got to see some of the mistakes that are made.
So maybe we spend the money there then. And obviously...
here we go again. Let's educate the referees. Let's go through all of that. Let's pay them better, and in 10 years we might have better referees. Not all referees are poor in League 1 and League 2, but we have had our fair share, and we do see the mistakes getting made, whether it's red cards, penalties, offsides. I think we need basic VAR in the EFL. The rest of the world of football has it. Why don't we? The problem is it costs too much money, and we're all paupers and we don't get enough money. But we need it. My opinion.
No, listen, and it's more than valid.
Yeah.
As a fan, sat in the stand,
sure.
I hate the fact that now that you would second guess a goal. Because the beautiful thing about going to a game of football is to sit in that stand, lose yourself with your mates a couple of seconds or whatever it may be.
We lost, we calculated analysis 10 points last year from goals that were given offside that weren't offside against us. That's pretty important.
Well, it's massively important. But from my point of view as a fan,
we had a player that was so quick that every linesman kept missing that he was onside.
I would offset human error to me losing out on the emotional aspect of celebrating a goal.
I get all of that, but jobs are on the line. People lose their jobs based on results, based on promotions, based on relegations. I mean, the whole essence of VAR is to improve the game from a mistake point of view. So mistakes aren't made. People aren't sent off wrongly. People don't get banned for games, fined. All those things that happen. Careers can get ended. I don't see an issue. I just don't want VAR to be overused. And that's where we've had a problem. I think it's been overused in certain.
Do you think referees are relying on it and not making decisions on it?
I think if you ask the referees honestly, I think that there'll be some of them going, we prefer the way it used to be. And some of them going, actually, we prefer now the heat's off us and it's on VAR. If I was a referee, I'd be like, trust my decision. And even if they asked me to go to the monitor, I'd be that arrogant. I'd be like, no, I'm happy with my decision.
As we saw in the World Cup on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, 100%. So, look, I just think there's certain, come up with the 4 or 5 key things it needs to be used for and leave it at that. But again, time limit. Frustrates me the most is when it takes 3 minutes and that isn't added to injury time. That really irritates the life out of me.
Why is it so different here? Because when I watch Champions League, when I watch Europa League, it seems
really quick.
It seems to be on it.
Yeah, the automated system, they're very quick, it's very rolling. We could learn a lot from that. Don't disagree.
Is that purely a financial thing? Is that what that is?
I don't think it's a financial thing. I just think there's different levels of VAR. The technology is different in different countries. I think we're doing the automated one, aren't we? It's changing now to automated, so that's a lot quicker. I just think it comes down to the referees, the people who are actually controlling the VAR in the room and just making things quick. But you're right, in Europe it is really quick. Because I watched the goal in the World Cup and I was like, that was onside. And 2 seconds later, the guy was like, yeah, that's offside. We're carrying on. How quick did they analyse that? That's obviously technology. It's a nothing burger here, this conversation. At the end of the day, it's like, let's just quicken it up. Let's improve it and move on.
And on that note, we'll finish today's show. Top man.
You're welcome.
You're back tomorrow, yeah?
I am.
There you go. More of this tomorrow, so make sure you come and join us for that. Enjoy the rest of your day here on talkSPORT. Plenty more to come. Don't be going anywhere.
I've read this a couple of times now. I can't help but think when he comes up with lines about people criticising the refereeing decisions and puts lines in his quotes such as "I'm sorry you missed it all," I can't help but think there's a little dig towards the head of UEFA there, Alexander Ceferin.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Obviously, Ceferin decided to stay away from the World Cup final, which was quite unprecedented. FIFA were briefing, actually, that was a pre-planned decision, but the message coming out of UEFA very much was that it was a protest by their president. Actually, I picked out a couple of screenshots, and he does talk about some of the refereeing decisions and says it's curious the same countries employing these practices are the ones criticising. He's talking about the decision to overturn Flo Balogun's red card, which for me was probably the most shameful moment of this World Cup. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite, Andy. You were there. Troy obviously lives out in the States. I had a wonderful 5.5 weeks. I thought it was a brilliant tournament. I thought the American hospitality was terrific. But let's not pretend it was perfect. He also talks about bringing two countries at war together, uniting two countries at war. Says Iran entered the United States without incident or conflict. I think they would push back on that when you look at the travel restrictions that were imposed on their players. And obviously the manager was quite outspoken about that. So I'm not sure why he's felt the need to do this. It spreads across 15 slides on Instagram. I'm not exactly sure who he's having a pop at. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is Ceferin. Maybe it's some of us in the media who've been critical. But it was a great World Cup. So I'm not sure that he needed to come out and justify himself and justify FIFA.